you streaming? Okay, so it's streaming now, so you can check it. And we check it on the YouTube.
Okay, this is microphone A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and then its mother shat on it and it then became all brown. Don't know what to say after that, but 10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
For
5,
Christ's
4,
sake, don't
3,
repeat
4,
it.
5, 2, 1.
Okay, let's try this one now and see if this one's any better or if it's working okay. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, it's good. They're working. Okay, now we try the telephone.
Hello, Brian.
So, how about a smiley? Hello, Sean. That's good. Yeah. Okay. Good. How about a smiley? A smiley?
With
I can hear myself talking.
over there. And good afternoon and welcome to day 6 at the Sailplane Grand Prix here in sunny Santiago in Chile. Quick recap on what happened yesterday. We had a most fantastic finish to the race. 5 gliders finishing within 4 seconds. So if you haven't seen it yet, you need to go back and have a look at yesterday's finish. If you've seen nothing else, just watch the finish. So in 5th place across the line was Sebastian Nagel, and we had a joint 3rd with Andres, the local hero from Chile, and Bostian from Slovenia. But in 2nd place, Thilo from Germany, and out in front, Sebastian Carver. So that now leaves an interesting situation with the overalls. The two Sebastians are now neck and neck with 25 points. That's Sebastian Nagel and Sebastian Carver. And in 3rd place on 18 points is Werner Arman. So it's all still to play for. Today we have a task of 339 kilometers, and the weather is expected to be even better than yesterday with lots more energy. We're expecting a temperature of 33 degrees, so that's a couple of degrees warmer than yesterday. Cloud bases in the valley around 4,000 meters, and up in the high mountains anything up to 5,000 meters. Winds down low, southwesterly 5 to 10 knots, which will be interesting on the final glide. Up in the mountains, northwesterly 10 to 15 knots. So what we'll do now is have a quick wander down the grid, and I think we'll have a quick chat with Andres, as he's on the front. Andres,
Hello.
how are you doing today?
Hello.
How was your day yesterday?
Oh, wonderful. Yes, really wonderful, because the task was really in upper mountains, not only in the mountain, but the high part of the mountain, which I have a lot of experience, so I got a lot of luck, and I think mountains love me. So my luck has something to do with mutual appreciation. Because the years I give him, years I have flying over them.
A friend of mine once told me there's no such thing as luck, it's all about good
Training.
fortune and training.
Training, yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. So after 4,000 hours, how's your training going?
4,000? You mean what? No, training is okay, and I think this glider is not the best. So I have a little handicap against me in the valley.
Yeah.
But in the ridge, I think all the gliders who are competing now are okay.
Yeah.
So I have to be very careful when I glide in the valley to get a little bit more altitude. That's why I think that is the success when you fly a little bit handicapped glider.
Yeah. Well, you gave us a fantastic race yesterday. We were all cheering you on.
Yes.
It was the finish was superb.
It's very funny, because I took a decision that is against the Grand Prix. I entered a terminal with a lot of other gliders. I think there were 6 of them, and I noticed that the terminal was very strong but very tight. So I go out and wait.
Yeah.
I stay ahead, behind, and wait for them to go away, because they couldn't get the thermal because of dimension too tight,
too tight.
For 5, 6 glider. And then when they go, I took that thermal. It was the trick of the day, because it gave me 4,000, and with that I entered the mountains and the story. So I was very happy with my decision. That was a straight decision to wait. Just to wait.
It gave us a fantastic story. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, stay high, fly fast, and we'll see you back here later.
Safe. Yes, and enjoy. Thank you.
Great character. He's only been flying for 31 years, 4,000 hours in the mountains. Here's the line crew here, and we'll just wander a little bit further down the line today. While we're walking down, just give you a quick update on Klaus. Klaus is still in hospital, but he's getting much better. We've spoken to him by text last night. They're actually flying him home on Sunday, and he was complaining that it's nice and warm here, but actually it's very cold at home in Germany. They've got lots of snow. Right, let's see Thilo. Actually, I'll have a quick word with Thilo. So just come back and have a quick word with Thilo. Thilo came second yesterday. So Thilo, tell us, why did you slow down at the last turn point?
I thought I couldn't make the 850 meters, and I was pretty sure I was completely alone. I saw the next one on the farm screen more than a kilometer behind, so I was pretty relaxed, not knowing that they were directly pushing me very hard. I have no mirror to the back, so I just wanted to make it safe. And suddenly I was very surprised to see Sebastian and Andres coming inside to me and then taking the shortcut, pushing me a little bit to the side. And so yeah, I was not cautious enough.
Yeah.
And I probably pushed a little bit too much the whole final glide. I mean, I should have slowed down a little bit and just to see where the others are. It's much better to follow the others than to be pushed without seeing the pushes.
Actually, at the last turn point, we reckon you were about 1,500 metres under glide, but you managed to make it up all the way along on the ridges.
Well, this ridge simply works fabulous. And I made it already a couple of 100 meters deeper, so I know the ridge very good, and this is one of my favorite ridges, just running it around. And I always try to not fly faster than 200 kilometers per hour, not to cruise too much through it, but maybe a little bit slower would have been better to not having the problem of slowing down just the last few kilometers, which actually cost me the victory yesterday.
But 8 points, it's nice to have that on the board.
Absolutely, 10 points would have been better, but I'm very happy with the result, and especially with this wonderful flight. It was, I mean, the scenery yesterday was just spectacular. I mean, it is such a beautiful area to fly there, and I'm looking very much forward today.
Yeah, today weather conditions very similar. In fact, if anything, a bit more energy. Do you think we'll be faster today?
Well, it's very difficult to fly it, I mean, the wrong direction. So you don't know exactly, I mean, if you take the Olivares ridge, which is normally working very good, the question is if you can make it in a straight flight to make it over this high pass, which is 4,500 meters high. So that will be the key point. It might be a little bit faster depending on the first thermal we should have between the first and the second turn point. I mean, this will be the key point to catch a good one there, and then you can make it easy for staying high. That's at least my plan. Let's see if it will work.
There's a funny thing about plans, they always seem to change, don't they? Anyway, have a great day. I look forward to seeing you back here later. Right, I've just seen John Gatfield. We haven't spoken to him yet on the grid, or Thomas actually, but he's not there again. Let's see if we can grab a quick word with John. John's from the UK. Started watching the Sailplane Grand Prix and sending us messages about how we were doing, and then he started competing in Sailplane Grand Prix, and I think he's done 5 now to try and qualify. John.
Hello, Sean.
How are you?
Good, mate. Yeah, all good.
Yeah. Are you enjoying this?
I'm absolutely loving it. What a great experience. Yeah, I'm the Muppet from England, not doing that great, but I don't care. I'm here.
Well, you say you're not doing that great. You got points on the board.
I know, I got points. That's all I wanted.
Yeah. And for all those armchair gliders back home, what would you say to them?
It's just a fabulous place. They should come and fly Chile. It is just awesome. It's intimidating mountains, really big, but goodness me, it's good. The scenery is incredible, and the conditions can just be out of this world.
Yeah. One of the questions we've been asked actually on the commentary is about your gliding club. It's a little unusual, isn't it? Bailey's Farm International.
Bailey's Farm International, yeah. It's only got about a dozen members. Very cheap membership fees.
Yeah, invitation only.
6-pack of beer and a bag of nuts, and you have to swear allegiance to the glorious leader, to the dear leader.
Yes, the dear leader.
Leader, Pete Wells, who makes Kim Jong-un look like a sort of shy, retiring liberal. So,
does he have a button on his desk?
No, I think he does. He seems to detonate himself every so often, but so Bailey's Farm, it's up there.
Good. And the task today?
I think this is going to be great. We're going back up to the Olivares Valley, and we're running south to north. So you need, I did this in the Andes Open, you've got to go in at 3,700 metres. But if you do that and you connect with the ridge, you can just run at 100 knots and you climb. There's a stonking thermal halfway up. And then when you get up to the top, it's 3 glaciers, big bowl of rock. But assuming you can get over the top, it's just, happy days.
Yeah. And what are your plans for the rest of the season?
I will go and fly the Grand Prix at Varese, probably, in Italy. Might go and fly Musback, but I'm definitely going back to Rieti and a load of flying in the Alps, just for fun. So it should be good. Come and join me, Sean.
I'd love to, but Rieti scares me and I haven't been there yet. So, you talk a lot about Rieti, and some of our fellow pilots back home, they just love the place. What is it about Rieti that's so special?
You tend to fly virtually every day. It's extremely reliable weather. You can fly quite high speeds, and it can be a bit repetitive, the tasking, but the weather's always slightly different. And you couple that with a really good organisation led by Aldo, a really nice place, great food. It's good to just hang around the place. It is just idyllic. It is
a good place for Grand Prix, do you think?
Now there's a thought. That would be a great place for a Grand Prix.
Yeah. All right, we'll work on that.
It could be
one.
quite exciting, but I think it would be a brilliant place for a Grand Prix. Yeah, good one.
Good. Well, best of luck for
Nice
today.
one. All right, fella.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
Right, let's see who else we can grab. Just time for one more. Started launching the grid already, and it's a bit quick word with Sebastian, our winner from yesterday. Sebastian, do you have a moment? Yes. What are you up to?
I'm preparing my oxygen now.
Okay, and what height do you use the oxygen?
We start at 3,500 meters. If we fly more than 2 hours at 3,000, we should use it already.
Yeah. And today will be 5,000 meters maybe?
We have a pass at 4,500, so we need to fly that.
Yeah, good. Yesterday, very exciting race. What made your decision to cut inside Tilo at the final turn?
I just saw it. We practiced in Dubai, so it was usual.
Yeah.
It was normal. Nothing special.
Very close and very exciting.
Yeah, and I have to check if my flarm is in the normal mode, and I think it is, but because yesterday they complained about some pilots having in a different modes.
And this is LX9000?
Yes, this is LX9000. No, it's no competition mode, so it's fine.
Yeah, you've got that all sorted. Well, other than the crossing the pass at 4,500 meters, are there any other tricky parts to the task today?
All the task is tricky. And the first, most important thing is I have been there 2 times.
Yeah.
Only.
Only 2 times.
Yesterday was the second one I was there. The first one we tried Olivares Valley and we got stuck in it, so we had to come back and then we tried again and it worked, but it was very, very scary. Today it looks that the weather is good, so. But the tricky part will be to get to high altitudes on the beginning of the race.
Yeah.
Because we start to the flatlands and then we have to come back to the mountains, and it will be climbing from maybe 2,000 to 5,000 meters. On that way we have to get altitude.
That's great. Well, thank you for the insights for that. Enjoy your day and see you back here later.
See you back.
Great. Right, that's pretty much us from the grid. We'll go back to the commentary box now and we'll give you the race live. Good afternoon and welcome to the Sailplane Grand Prix here on day 6 in sunny Santiago in Chile. It really is a beautiful sunny day here. We're expecting 33 degrees, which is a couple of degrees more than yesterday, which will give us a bit more energy. And we're expecting cloud base around 4,000 meters in the valleys and up to 5,000 meters or above up in the high mountains. Wind today down in the valley is a southwesterly 5 to 10 knots. And at altitude, the wind swings round to the northwest, and we're expecting no more than sort of 10 to 15 knots. So that hopefully will give us an exciting race today. Just going to get Benji to zoom in, and you can see the competitors climbing up just before the start. And we've got an overview here of the race course, starting from the green start line in the middle bottom of the screen. They run for, somebody stole my tar sheet already, it's just the 25 kilometers up to turn point 1, which should be fairly straightforward, but then it starts to get a little bit tricky. To go down to 10.2, a distance of 62 kilometers, we think they are really unlikely to fly straight. We think they're going to go to the left-hand side. And what we'll try and do is just show you the route we think they might take. We've got a new toy we've been playing with today, and we think they might go due east and start to climb in this area, and then get themselves up onto this ridge to come down the Aureolis Valley down to 10.2. It is possible to go the other route, go the low route, but it's a long, long way round, and we might see some of the others do that. I'll just get rid of that screen for you. So we'll just follow the train down to 10.2. And if we just turn around at 10.2, and you'll be able to see up the Aureolis Valley. Up here on the right-hand side, we're expecting them to climb high and then come down the west side of the valley, down here towards the turn point. And then from this point here, if they get enough altitude, they might go round on the east side of the valley, or if they can't, they might go down the west side. So we could see a split here. And this leg up to 10.3 is 78 kilometers. Halfway, there's a good place to stop and climb, but we're expecting them to just be able to run along the top of the ridge, just gaining height bit by bit, starting around 3,700 meters, and they've got to get to 4,500 meters to get over a pass or a gate, as they call it here, into Inca Lake. The turn point, remember, from yesterday. The mountains here are quite spectacular. Some of the video footage we were able to see yesterday and used in the highlights video, a stunning area. So from 10.3, we're expecting them to be up around the 4,000 meter mark. They've got to come back down again to 10.4, probably following the west side of the Aureolis Valley, and then they cut across. We're expecting there's a gate they have to cut across, or a high ridge here, about 2,500 meters. So we're not expecting them to stop on the way down to 10.4. And if they get there at 2,500 meters, the game should be over. It's a real race from here down to 10.5, and then back along the ridges, as we saw yesterday, for another exciting finish here in Santiago. Those of you who were able to see the race yesterday, it was just a stunning finish with 5 competitors finishing within 4 seconds. And perhaps, Brian, you can tell us a little bit about why you think they compressed together and why Chile just lost the lead at the end.
Well, I think it started a little bit earlier than that, because the run into the southern turn yesterday saw the people who had been well behind slowly catching up as the leading group were a little bit too conservative. When they turned at the south, they could see the others catching them up, and they then flew much less conservative, much more aggressively. In fact, they probably flew just a little bit too aggressively, because we saw Boston, who was behind at the turn, catching up all the way down by flying a little bit higher and leaving himself a little bit more energy. And of course the remarkable thing was that we had Andres and Sebastian, and we had Andreas and Sebastian and Tilo all going together just there. We just stand by, we got a weather update from our fly in the sky.
Or our eye in the sky. Alex, can you hear us, Alex?
Go ahead, Alex.
No, maybe we haven't. We've got a Nimbus 4DM flying with Alex in. He's up above the start line, and when we have him back, we'll see if we can't give you a weather update. We're certainly looking from the ground and outside the window here. We can see clouds just on the tops of the mountains, somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 meters. Wind strength today, as we said earlier, down in the valleys, somewhere between 5 to 10 knots southwesterly, which should make the final glide quite exciting. and at altitude 10 to 15 knots northwesterly. So the leg, as they come back south from points 1 to 2 and from 3 to 4, we should see some quite high ground speeds. We've got 12 minutes 50 seconds to go, and just looking at the altitudes, Andreas from Chile in Gulf November is up at 4,000 meters or just underneath. The highest at the moment is Gintis Zub from Lithuania, 4,700 meters. And second in altitude, John Gatfield from Bailey's Farm Gliding Club. Just looking around, see if anybody's having any problems. No, everybody's really high. Lowest at the moment, 3,300 meters, so everybody's in good shape. Just looking at the time, 12 minutes to run. And yeah, let's finish the story there, Brian.
Okay, we got to the point where Thilo and Sebastian Andreas were running into the control point, and Thilo realized that probably he'd overcooked a little bit, and he started to slow down just before the control point. And that gave Sebastian the opportunity just to turn inside him in the control point, resulting in very fast finish. If you look at the results, you'll see that the third place was shared with exactly the same time after 359 kilometers. Remarkable that you can do that.
Now the official scores were done from flight recorders, and even with 1 second logging, we're starting to end up with tied places. So can you see the FAI and the IGC changing to sub-second logging in the future?
Well, if we keep on like this, it'll be hundredths of a second logging.
Or photo finish or something like that. Yeah. So with 11 minutes to go, if you're joining us for the first time, we're broadcasting live from Santiago in Chile. We've got Silent Wings to give us the visuals, and some great data from OGN using trackers and FLARMs. We've got reasonable coverage over most of the area, and we hope we'll have good coverage today. A little bit about the results from yesterday, just to confirm. In 5th place was Sebastian Nagel, narrowly beaten by joint 3rd place of Andres and Bostian. Bostian from Slovenia, Andres from Chile. In 2nd place was Thilo Hollyhouse from Germany, and in 1st place from Poland was Sebastian Carver. The overall results at the moment: in 3rd place, Werner Arman with 18 points. Werner had a reasonably quiet day yesterday, but we're hoping to see more of him today. And in joint 1st place currently, after 3 races, with 25 points each, are the 2 Sebastians. That's Sebastian Carver from Poland and Sebastian Nagel from Germany. With now 9 minutes and 45 seconds to go before the start, numbers of viewers are picking up, which is good. Maximum start height today, one of the questions we've got on the stream here is 2,800 meters. So if you have any questions about the flying or the task or anything like that, you can talk to us through the live chat on the YouTube channel. Any technical questions will be answered by Anglo Casada by text. Anything to do with flying, we'll do our best to answer through the commentary. So Mario, would you like to be flying today?
Yeah, it's a good day to fly, and it's a good task. I think this is going to be a very challenging in the way of going to the south, to the bronze turn point, which is turn point number 2. That's going to be a very tricky.
Hi, Brian.
It could be that after that point, that could be the end of the race. You just go north to the turn point number 3, through the ridges, come back in the same way to Rio Colorado, which is the turn point number 4. From there to turn point number 5 and back. It could be just in a straight flight with no turning.
So we're looking forward to another exciting final glide again.
Yeah, I think that they will have a probably very high speed.
We're still trying to bring you a live weather update. Still working on it, but if we can get that to you, we will do. Just over 8 minutes to go now. The competitors anywhere between 3,500 and 4,500 meters, quite away from the start line. They're probably 20 kilometers away, but they can run back towards the start line. Remembering at 5 minutes to go after that time, they have to turn left, no more right turns. And with 1 minute to go, they need to be behind the start line or its extensions. And then they'll run through the start line and head towards the first turn point. And we're just starting to see the competitors slowly start making their way back towards the start line. Alpha Tango there, René Vidal, one of the local pilots. Gentis in Alfa Romeo on the left, Thomas Gostner on the right, and the phone's ringing again, so hopefully we'll have Alex. Alex, can you hear us?
Hey, yeah, sorry that I didn't call before, we had bad signal.
Yeah, can you tell us about the weather then, please?
Okay, well, just a short input. It is a very good day. Thermals are strong. We are getting lifts all the way up to 4.5 meters from the very bottom down from the start line up. So they wouldn't have any trouble to do the first waypoint out to Las Truchas. After that, they will try to climb here at Los Españoles, and they will try to run to the second turn point over the ski resorts, I think. The cumulus that we see to the mountains, the base is around that 3,800 meters, and all the ridges are clear. The only thing that is interesting, there is a little bit of buildup just east of Santiago. That you can see that huge cumulus forming to the east of the airfield, and that is just on the westerly ridge of Olivares Valley. The valley the gliders shooted south yesterday and will try to fly north upwards. From that turn point in the south, they will have to actually climb that valley up, and it's going to be interesting to see what the cloud formation will be doing there. We still can see that east of the ski resorts, there is some spots, and the valley should be clear, and they should be able to climb that valley northwards up to the Inca Lake. The wind up here is around 20 to 30 kilometers northwesternly, so it creates very nice lift at Los Españoles. We got all the way up to 4,400 meters with some of the gliders. They were all very high, and they're shooting out for the start line. So we'll be coming back in about 15 minutes with more info.
Okay, thanks very much, Alex.
That's
You're welcome.
great.
Have
We
a nice
finally got
Christmas and say
the
hello.
technology working. Alex is flying in a Nimbus 4DM up on top of the mountains, letting us know that the cloud base is what we were hoping to expect, sort of 3,800 to 4,000 meters. And the wind direction north-northwesterly, around 15 to 30 kilometers an hour, or 10 to 15 knots.
Yeah,
So
with that report, probably the strategy is going to change. They will not be able to get through the east side of the Rio Olivares, and they will have to go more to the west. The cloud base, they're going to limit to go through straight to the Inca Lake.
Okay, that sounds good. Meanwhile, the competitors got 4 minutes and 10 seconds or so to go. They're just working their way back behind the line. So they're now inside the 5-minute period where they can only turn left. Now we're just looking at Gentis's current situation, 3,800 meters. And anything else we can tell you? Yeah, just slowly coming back behind the line. Everybody else following now. Tilo coming from the east, heading west towards the start area. Tilo now 3,500 meters. They slowly descend. One of actually the hardest bits of this Grand Prix racing is to cross the start line at the right altitude and the right speed, and there's a maximum speed of 170 kilometers an hour, which, having tried it myself, is actually reassuringly difficult to do.
Yeah, it is really difficult to get the timing and the height just right. You're going to descend 1,000 meters and try to hit that line at not more than 170 kilometers an hour. It's very, very difficult. And what we've seen in the analysis of the starts is generally people are a little slow and a little a few 20, 30 meters under the line, so they're being very conservative. We've only had a couple of speed penalties in the last few days, so they're really getting the hang of it now, these guys.
Yep, as the competitors make their way behind the line, 2 minutes and 35 seconds to go. Just to answer one of the quick questions, if we can make a phone call to one of the gliders, why can't we get pictures? Well, we have been getting pictures, but we've got limited resources here to be able to put that stream together. So we're quite lucky actually to be able to deliver Silent Wings and the audio. Perhaps if we can get some sponsorship and a few more resources, we'll be able to bring you even more in the future. But for now, we'll bring you the race live. 2 minutes to go. Competitors are making their way behind the line. Can we see Benji a little bit further out just to make sure we're going to get everybody behind the line? Yeah, we see all the competitors now. Andres is behind the extensions. It looks like Tail End Charlie at the moment is Tom Kelly from the US. He's got 38 seconds to get behind the line. Can we go right the way over the top of the line just to see them coming through? Yeah, that's great. The new picture coming to you now. So 27 seconds to go. Looks like all the competitors will be back behind the line. As I said before, they need to be behind the line or its extensions, and there's some quite severe penalties if they were the wrong side. From this moment on, you'll see them only turning left, a safety feature in Grand Prix racing. We don't have a contact sport. We hope it's not a contact sport, and this just helps us to maintain our distance and allows us to time our run to the start line. 50 seconds to go. What would you be thinking about now, Brian?
I'd be thinking about keeping out of each other's way. They're circling, but they're not climbing, they're descending. They're circling with the air brakes out. And they're trying to get the altitude just right, 1.5 kilometers back from the line, so they can get the speed right. And they'll keep the brakes out right down the descent until they're straightened up now.
So with 25 seconds to go, looks like Thomas is pretty close to the line this time. Sebastian timing his run. Benji will give us an overhead shot so we can see if there's anybody early. If you're looking for the time to run, the 10 seconds now, you'll see it in the top of the screen along with the compass. And it looks like Sebastian's going to lead the way out through the start today. And everybody clear, gates open. This first leg is just a short leg of 25 kilometers. Nothing particularly tactical about it. It's about getting yourself in a good position to climb for the next leg.
Looks like Golf November Andreas, who's a little bit late at the start, but he's probably got changed his tactic a little today. He's probably going to sit back a little bit and just watch what happens in the first stage. He's the local. He'll have quite a plan as to how he's going to tackle this climb up the mountains.
It might be that he crosses the line, heads hard right, and actually tries to get round the first turn point high and back into the Españoles.
Looks like he might just have missed it, Benj. If we look right on, he's through it. Okay, we think he's gone through it. Yeah, he's okay, but he's probably going to go and shot a little bit more right of the others to take the higher ground.
So 19 gliders heading north, 25 kilometers to run. Nobody doing anything particularly different at the moment. The two Chilean pilots furthest right, near the higher grounds. You can see off in the distance the first turn point. Turn point 1. On the right hand side, this area, Mario, is this the Españoles on the right?
Yes, those are the Españoles. And ahead of Zulu, you have what we call the laboratory. So probably going to go in that area to get some new thermals. On the other hand, we don't see the clouds here, so where they're turning now, it's an area where you get a lot of good cumulus. So the group went probably straight to the cumulus, and they're beginning to turn there. On the other hand, Sebastian Nagel just continue to the laboratory.
I suppose, Sean, that people who watched the race yesterday will remember that there was a long part of the race where there didn't seem to be much progress because they've got to get higher and higher and higher. So the speed, the average speed is low for the first part of the race. But once they've got the altitude and they're right on the top of the mountains, then you'll see the speeds really shoot up for the rest of the flight.
So this group here climbing at an average of about 3 meters per second. Some of the others didn't quite hook it and have pushed on. So on the right hand side we have the two Chilean pilots, Thomas and Andres, along with Whiskey Mike, which is Sebastian Nagel. He missed the climb and decided to cut right, and they're just coming to the area of the laboratory now, the southern the southern edge of the laboratory.
Yes, that's right. And we saw that Thomas went up with the 5, but he didn't catch that one. He just continued to the north part of the laboratory.
And the other group look like they've finished their climb and they're starting to stream across towards the laboratory. Nobody's stopping and turning yet.
It's just possible that they can make the turn and then come back into the hills. If they're aggressive and they're pushy, which is not normal for the first leg, then they may well decide to get round that turn and go ahead due east back into the hills. But one would expect on the first leg for them to be a bit more conservative and trying to get a bit higher for that turning point.
Sebastian's just running to the right hand side of the laboratory. Unusual that they haven't had a climb yet.
Yes, that's unusual. I think that in the area where the Zulu, where Thomas is, they should beginning to turn and to catch something there.
Nobody's stopping yet.
But they haven't really lost any height. They started at 2,800 and most people are still around that sort of height. So they're running in reasonably good energy all the way along. I would have thought they wouldn't be stopping in much less than 3 meters, and they're going to find that maybe just on the next bowl.
Two Chilean pilots a little lower, having to go left. Looks like they're heading towards this more westerly ridge.
Yeah, that's right. They're probably going straight to the turn point, and from there to continue and to get back to the Españoles through the Catedrales, which is a ridge that meets the end of the Españoles instead of coming back.
Nice to see Thomas leading the way. He's been a bit quiet the last few races. Unfortunately, he's one of the 4 in the 0 points club at the moment. He'll be keen to get himself out. We haven't had a chance to talk to him. Every time we go to his glider, he's not there or he's away on the phone. So we will try and bring you an interview before the end of the week. So the group that climbed using their altitude to push forward, not wanting to let anybody get away, all coming back together here at the turn point. We'll have a look, see how far they've got to go in a second. If you can give us a distance, Benj. So distance to 10.1 coming up, and Zulu Thomas, 8 kilometers to go, and furthest is Tilo in 3 Victor, 16 kilometers. I wonder what Tilo's up to. Is he stopping and climbing somewhere?
Well, he was higher than all the others a moment ago. He might have a different plan, but it looks like he just took a bit more in that thermal, and he's probably, after yesterday's adrenaline, he's decided that he'll save some of it for the end, because you need quite a lot of it for the final glide, I think.
Yeah, now we've got the labels with the altitudes, and you can see that Zulu Thomas is down at 2,400 meters and Tilo behind him at 3,000 meters. Altitude is energy, and we have a rough calculator of which we'll use towards the end of the race to work out whether they can actually get home without making a climb.
Just pretty much what we expected at the moment. A bit of a stream running, although there's quite a difference in altitudes already, but that will soon close if they find a decent climb, and they're going to stay together until they've made this turn, and that's when we'll see if there is completely different strategies, and that's when we'll see if they start to break up and either take the direct route or whether they go more to the east to take the high route.
We thought Thomas might have pulled up and started to turn there, but he didn't hook it and just pushed on, just carrying on around the bowl now, heading towards the first turn point. The 10 points today sponsored by Navita. Navita help us with the task setting software, which we also use for analysing the flights. Just watching Thomas run along the ridge now, with the others following behind.
And just for those of you who are not sure, the official scoring is done by cross-country scoring, but Navita are always very helpful to us with our links through Soaring Spot and the use of CU and some of the flight analysis. But we score using cross-country soaring, and you'll find the link to that also on the Sailplane Grand Prix website.
Just looking, seeing Thomas just starting to climb here, just before the turn. 1.5, 2 meters. Will the others stop with him? Mario Kisling in India. Yep, he's going to have some of that. 2 meters. Looks like he might have got the core of that one a little bit better than Thomas. And the others piling in behind. In fact, Thomas has pushed on, didn't quite get the thermal. We'll wait to see whether Mario stays in this climb. Sebastian Carver having a go as well. Lucas there and Werner Arman. Meanwhile, Andreas has pushed on towards the 10 point.
Well, Andreas being the local guy, he'll probably give us a guide as to which way is going to be the best route to come out of this turning point. I would have thought he'll come back to this climb before he can go. He'll need to climb a bit higher here, won't he, Mario?
Yes. Yes, I think that he probably will turn either on the same area where the turn point is. That's an area where there are very good thermals. And on the other hand, he will come back to the ridge of Cathedralis. The whole group is climbing very well before going to they're already going to the turn point. Probably,
yeah, they just
probably had to come back to the same thermal.
Just took a couple of turns,
yeah.
And they probably didn't want Andres to get away, so they've left that climb. They'll go through the turn point, and you think they'll come back to that original climb before they start working their way back east.
Now, this could be an interesting way of going into the second turn point. One is going to probably they can go back to the laboratory and from there climb up to the Españoles, or to go through the Cathedrales, going into the east.
So as we watch the fleet round the first turn point, that leg was just 25 kilometers, and we saw them stop just once really, before making the turn. They're going to need to climb now. They've got to find a good climb.
I think that Andres is coming back to the laboratory, and the other possibility is to go on the right side of the screen, where we're going to see the Cathedrales what we call Cathedrales, which is that very stony ridge that you can see there. And from there to go inside to the east.
Just going to show you where we think they might go is this way. And Andres is coming back down here to the laboratory. So a definite change of plan here from the two of them.
It's quite remarkable, really, that Andras, being the local guy, is really confident about his route. He's not hesitated, and maybe it'll be, well, it's going to be very interesting for us to see what he does now.
So this group,
I think that he went a bit low to the turn point, and now he doesn't have enough height. He have to go back and get some energy. In the meantime, all the other guys got enough altitude, and they're flying that ridge, which is very good to get inside through the Cathedrales, and from there all the way inside.
So they're almost flying 90 degrees from the main track.
That's right, yes. But what they are looking is to get into those high ridges that we have in the upper part of the screen.
Just seeing that Thilo's now 2,700 meters, and John Gatfield's just a little lower, 2,580 meters.
Thilo did the opposite. He took some altitude way back and came to the mark, to the turn point, and he's going back to Cathedrales, but he's flying the upper part of the ridge. Now they're going to come to an area where they have very good and strong thermals. We can see there that Mario is already turning.
We'll just see what the climb rate is for Mario. Let's bring that to you. Yeah, I didn't get got the first part of the thermal, but not the second part. He'll recenter. He's just starting to come back into it now. The rest of the group turning with him. 3 meters now from Mario. Werner Arman also taking the first part of that thermal. Very narrow, these thermals.
They made a right turn. Usually we fly on a left turn, and we can see that the Alpha Tango, which is René Vidal, he made a left turn to catch the thermal.
For those of you looking at it, the climb rates are on the glider tags, so we can see 3 Victor climbing 3 meters now. One group didn't quite get it, and they're pushing on to the right.
Well, that's interesting. That's a ridge that takes you back to the Españoles, which are in the upper part of the screen. That's going south. On the other hand, we know that Andrés went to the laboratory to get some altitude to get into the Españoles. So these guys are probably they're trying to look the energy and the track that is on the Españoles.
Not the best climb we've seen today, but they're sticking with it. A few of the other competitors, Mark Tingy and Golf Tango, which is Thomas Gosner, and Fridolin pushing further on. Sebastian Negli, who's been won the first 2 races, came 5th yesterday. He's in that group that have pushed on south. Over to the right in Gulf November, we can see Andres climbing in the laboratory, and number 11, who's just disappearing, and that's Tom, climbing 1.1 meters, and Gintis in Alfa Romeo at the back of the pack now, but hopefully climbing. Yeah, Gintis now climbing nearly 2 meters. This other group on the left-hand side of the screen, we're getting a better climb, 2.5 to 3.5 meters. How long do you think they'll wait, Mario?
Oh, they should get at least 3,500 meters if you want to cross to the Españoles. the other group where Thomas Kostner is and Sebastian Nagel, they're trying to get some height before crossing the river to go into the Españoles.
Thilo now at the top of the pile, 3,200 meters and climbing. Here's the overhead shot. So you can see they've just come out of turn point 1 at the top of the screen, and they're heading down to the bottom right-hand side of the screen to turn point 2. And to get there, rather than going a straight line like that, we think they will go round to the east side and round a bit further bend. That's it. And then follow the line of the ridge down the Orivales Valley. So that's what we think will happen, but we don't know. We'll have to watch and see.
One of the interesting parts of this first leg, we'll be seeing if Kummel in Whiskey Mike has a different strategy to get away from Sebastian. There's quite a battle building up between those two. They're equal points at the top. They're both wonderful pilots, and they've both got the right amount of aggression tempered with the patience that you need to be a really good liner pilot. But I would think Hummel will try to get away. I think he'll try to make a getaway and put some pressure on Sebastian and see if he can push him a little bit. Certainly they're separated already, and that's really interesting to see if that tactic remains the same.
What was interesting is at the bottom of the screen before, we could see Andres and Mark Tingey heading further south. I wonder what their plan is.
Well, I think that they're coming to the laboratory to get some heights, and from there to go to the Españoles. There's a Gulf November just arriving to the north area of the Españoles and catching a very good thermal.
Climb rate is everything. If you can keep 6 meters all the way around, that'll be a fantastic climb. Not so good on the other side, but hopefully the average will be good. Wonder if Mark Tingey's seen that as well.
Look at that.
Yeah, the average climb rate now over 4.5 meters. You think Mark's seen him yet? Mark running and climbing at the same time. He should be able to see down his right wingtip. Andres climbing now 3.5, 4 meters. Andres happy on his own. Mark's just flown straight past. Wonder what he's thinking. Maybe he wasn't looking. Yeah, just looking at the altitude of the competitors behind. Thilo's now over 4,000 meters, so sticking with that climb behind. Andres here at 2,800 meters, so 1,200 meters to catch up, but he's 10, 12 kilometers in front. So there's a better view with the group climbing now. I can see Thilo climbing 4 meters. In that group with him, you've got John Gatfield, Didier, Werner Arman, Giorgio Galetto, and Lucas. I wonder where Sebastian Carva's gone. Or you think he's in there as well? Yes, he is in there as well. Yep. Big group together. Didier at the bottom, Thilo at the top. Mario Kissling, who had a poor day yesterday, just missed the bubble and ended up having to fly west and all the way around the mountains to get to the bottom turn point, but just wasn't able to catch up with the leading group. Sebastian Nagel, who didn't catch the thermal to begin with, had pushed on, and he's now pretty low, down at 2,600 meters. So he'll need a decent climb to dig himself out of there. Meanwhile, Thilo's left. He's got to the what he thought was the top, and at 4,200 meters, and has pushed on. heading pretty much just east of south down to turn point 2. And which area will he end up at from there, Mario?
Well, Tilo is heading that red area of where we call the Piedras Coloradas, and from there to go inside, I make that could be one route.
One route along there.
Yeah, and the other one is to go to the north,
going this way,
and then
round,
making to the south.
So it'll be interesting to see where he goes.
Yeah. With the altitude that they have, it should be interesting. Now the other group is making a bit more to the north. They're going to get the help of and the energy of those ridges, which are very good. Now Tilo probably is going to fly straight, and that's not a bad choice. It's a good idea. Now we don't see the clouds, but knowing that the cloud bases are around 4,000, they are very close to already to the cloud bases. So there's a time to run.
So distance to run. Closest to the turn point is Mark Tingey, but we don't believe he's got enough altitude to get there, and he'll have to climb again. 2,500 meters for Mark. Andres not far behind him, but a little bit higher, at 3,180 meters. Tilo further east, out in front of this other group to the north and east. Tilo 4,000 meters, just running now, 200 kilometers an hour, just over. That's ground speed, not true airspeed. Tilo with 300 kilometers of this task to fly. Total distance today just under 340 kilometers. This leg down to turn point 2, we thought there would be 2 different routes, and we've seen that. We
have several different routes.
Tilo now running along the top of the ridge.
That's right. Flying this ridge, he should move to the ridge which is on the left side of the screen, which is the east. Yeah, to that ridge, and then to the next one to the other side.
So an interesting task, having to cross the ridges.
Yeah.
Just watching Tilo run along here, just wondering when he'll turn left to get onto the next ridge.
It's really fun to watch Tilo. The second day, he's decided to try and get out ahead and to plough his own furrow. He's pushing along there in front. It was a good tactic for him yesterday. We'll have to see if it works out. And it also looks like the wheels have come off for Sebastian Negli for Kummel. He's really got left behind there. It just didn't work out for him at all going on to the edge of the ridge. He's got a lot to do now to catch up with all the leaders, because he's somehow got to get back up to get over the top and follow them through. He can't find a better route from there. He has to come this way.
Why did you think nobody followed Tilo? Why do you think they stuck together, did an extra turn, and then went a little bit further to the northeast?
Well, I think that's part of the tactic of this. That's why it's so nice to see that Tilo didn't wait. And he decided that he was confident about the route he wanted to take. He was sure where he wanted to go. Sebastian Carver in Papa, he has no reason to push out. He's sitting at the top of the overall results at the moment. No point for him in taking any risk. Werner Ammann, he's very happy to fly with Sebastian. They're letting Tilo do the work. Tilo is not that sort of person. He'll see the route he wants to take and he'll just go. He goes on his own, and sometimes it works out brilliantly and sometimes it doesn't, and it becomes a big problem. It's very exciting for us to watch pilots who are prepared to take a little bit of a sporting risk here and see if they can get away from everybody by going out ahead.
We can see Andres at the bottom of the screen on the right hand side coming back towards that ridge, but you can see visually the difference in altitude. Andres down at 3,000 meters and Thilo at 3,840 meters.
Andres is coming to an area where there are very good lift usually. He should get something there, or just continue to where Thilo is flying. He knows that way to through the ski resorts, and from there to go to the point, to the turn point.
Mark Tingey with the shortest distance to go, but actually several mountain ridges in front of him. Mark's going to need to climb. So we think with the altitude that Thilo has and his current position, he's got a reasonable lead at the moment. 36.6 kilometers to go. Andres stopping and climbing on that ridge. Mark Tingey will have to do the same. Meanwhile, the chasing pack of Sebastian Carver, Werner Arman, Lucas and Giorgio Galetto. Just trying to look at their height. Yes, Sebastian 7,700, 7,800 meters. Following Thilo across the valley. Just looking at Thilo, looks like he might have arrived at that ridge. Oh, just coming onto it now. 3,800. And from here, Mario, will he carry on straight or will he cut left a little?
Just go left a little to catch that ridge, and we're gonna fly above the ski resorts area. And that's an interesting decision there too. If you have enough height, you could go straight to that gate, which is very close on the screen, to turn point 2, or to go all over around the ridges, which is a long distance, but it really keeps you.
Thilo now just slowing down as he's in rising air, dropping down to 150 kilometers an hour, but running at 3-4 meters. Very nice too. Well done, Thilo. Thilo now 31 kilometers and change to the turn point. You can see in the top right of the screen. We think he will keep going east here, across these two ridges we can see in front of us, and then run down the Orivalis Valley on the western side.
I think that there was a group where René Vidal and Thomas Gostner were left behind, and they're trying to, probably they're coming through the mine.
Yeah, I think we've got a weather update from Alex. Alex, can you hear us?
Hey, I'm hearing you perfectly well. How you guys?
Yeah, good. Can you tell us what's happening with the weather?
Yes, I'm right now here cruising from the copper mine La Disputada east of Santiago towards the ski resort. I'm cruising at 3,750 meters, and the cloud base is at 3,000.
Yeah, we got part of that, Alex. Can you give us the cloud base again, please? Yeah, it looks like we've lost Alex. So we'll carry on. I think what we gathered from that is Thilo is up at cloud base at 3,700 meters. Alex is not far away. Sounds like it's a good run today. Just trying to figure out what's going on with the guys behind. Thomas, who made the early running, he's back with Andres, and they're busy trying to climb to get over this ridge, to get up the same altitude as Thilo. If they can't climb quickly, they're going to just drop behind.
Yeah, that's right. But on the left side of the screen, we should see what's going on with René Vidal and Didier. They took the route inside of to the east of the mountains, and they are flying about the same height. But that is a very good area to get a tailwind that really helps you. And for where they're flying now, they should move to the left side of the screen to catch the other ridge in the same direction where the main group is.
They're about 4 or 5 kilometres behind, but just a fraction higher, but running down a better ridge. In good company, Rene. Got Didier House there, John Gatfield and Bostian in Echo Juliet. And coming to join them is Roman Merchek in Quebec X-Ray. That would be a good group that works together. If they stick together, they can catch the group in front. Meanwhile, the group with Giorgio Galetto and Mario Kissling and Sebastian Cava still following Thilo over towards the east. So they must be now running very close to the... Oh, that's the ridge we can see in front of the Orivalis Valley.
No, this is the area of the ski resort. The Olivar Valley is behind
the next one
to
over.
The left side of the screen. The point here is that if you go straight to the point, we have a gate.
We've just got Alex back on the phone. Alex, can you tell us what
the
weather's doing?
We got interrupted. We are just right now at the top of the ski resort of La Parva and Farallones and Valle Nevado. And we are here at 3,600 meters. The cloud base is around 3,900. And we are just at the edge of the clouds forming here against the high mountains. And we actually are getting some rain showers. And it's rain showering. It's showering actually all the way to the east towards the glacier of El Plomo and towards the south also. So I'm trying to stay in the sun at the edge of the clouds because it's pouring. It's the visibilities are kind of reduced. We still see all the ridges. We have a visibility of 10-15 kilometers, but a little bit reduced through the shower. Maybe you can hear the droplets right now if I turn down the net barrier. Lift is still very good. We had some lift after turn point 1 of 6.5 average. Right now I'm actually flying through hail and some snowflakes against the sun. It's an incredible view to see the snowflakes hitting your nose. So it's kind of strange. We're flying in the sun and we're having snow falling. We have a few gliders in front of us already south of our position. I'm not telling you where, but it's great flying. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens north of the second turn point. I can see the valley of Olivares right now, and it's clear, and probably think we don't have any trouble to climb east of the valley of Olivares to climb north again towards Inca Lake.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex. You say that the Olivares Valley on the eastern side will be clear to run north from the second turning point?
Yes, that is right. I can see it, and I can see sun reflecting on that easterly ridge of Olivares Valley, so it wouldn't be any issue to climb north there. The wind here right now is westerly, southwesterly of about 15 to 20 kilometers, but it's basically the valley wind that we're picking up here at 3,500 meters. So I'll give you a call back. I'll be joining these guys now, circling with them for a while, and I'll give you a call in a few minutes before lose signal and before Valley of Olivares.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
You're welcome. Try to check your phone or Benji's phone. I sent some pictures. It'll give you a good idea of what we...
Okay, it looks like we've lost Alex now. Great update. His position was about 5 kilometers further back down the track from where we see Thilo at the moment. Thilo just crossing over that ridge there, just pulling up nearly 3 meters. The group behind him have slowly pulled him back in. So Sebastian Cava, Werner Arman, and I think that was Giorgio Galetto are sticking with him. Mario Kissling not too far away either. Just losing a little bit of data on that point. We'll zoom back out so we can see where some of the others are. Mark Tingy, who cut right south and a little bit more to the west, is quite low, but still only 26 kilometers to run. He'll have to climb this area in front of him between his current position and turn point 2. I'll just draw that for you. Is a very high but flat area just here. That's a huge obstacle in front of him, so he's going to have to climb before he goes across that. It's just too tricky for him to get to from where he is right now. Seeing if anybody else is doing anything different. Golf November with Andres, who did lead for a while, still trying to climb to get the altitude he needs to run to the next turn point. It just didn't work out for him today, Mario.
No, I think so. No. The other interesting thing is that we have Sebastian Nagel on the view, way behind, and he's flying that ridge at 3,600 meters.
Yeah, he's going to have to do something quite special to catch this group in front of him, who are now 15 kilometers or so in front.
Yeah, the weather reports are interesting. If there's some shower activity on some overconvection on the massif there, it could be a little bit of a game changer, because it's quite difficult in those conditions to predict the route, and it will change quite quickly. And one group could fly right into a trouble on the backside of the shower. The convection is caused because there's a lot of energy. And as long as there's energy, there'll be overconvection, but we didn't expect it to develop to the point where it would start to shower. And I think it could change the game a little, but certainly Kummel now, he's got a really hard time to try and get back up with the leading group. But let's see, it'll be exciting to watch if he can do it.
Meanwhile, we're just watching Alex at the bottom of the screen. Sorry, not Alex. Andres just getting a 2.5–3 meter climb, and hopefully that'll get him back in the game. And also Krimmel there climbing 3 meters, 3.4, and he's with Fridian, so they'll work together to try and get back to the front of the pack. The leading group, as they come down to turn point 2, working their way to the left-hand side. And Mario thinks they'll stop and climb here.
Yes, I think so. That's an area you get very good climb, but we have heard that the base of the clouds are a bit tricky. But to get to the turn point 2 and back in the same direction where they are now, it is better to get some height. Otherwise, you had to go to the other side of the river, mark the turn point 2, and go inside again to the east in the mountains there to get some height, and then try to hit the east side of the Olivares. Yeah, from there you can get some height, and to go to the east, that's right, to the east side of the Olivares. We've heard from Alex that that area is not fully covered with the clouds, so that could be a tricky way to get back to north.
Yeah, we'll watch and see, and perhaps Alex will give us another update on what's happening with the weather. Because what we don't want to happen is we don't want it to overdevelop, and they all get cut off in that valley. In fact, we've had one question: what happens if they were stuck that side of the mountain, and the weather got a lot worse? Is there any options for them there?
Well, that's a decision that we'll have to take it just shortly before they, once they get into the Olivares, because if you get stuck at the end, that's around 30 kilometers north, and you had to come back 30 kilometers south prior to turn around, or to find a gate between the mountains and the clouds.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Meanwhile, this group, 3 Victor, Tilo, run down the top of the ridge, and he's now leaving at 3,800 meters. And in our discussion before, we were talking about being around the 3,700 meter mark at turn point 2. Tilo now has just under 7 kilometers to run, so he's not far away from the height we thought they would need. And from there, he'll need to make the decision whether to come left or west up the Orivalis Valley, where he is now, or whether he'll cross to the eastern side to go north to the next turn point 3.
Yeah, we're going to get good coverage again in a moment, because they're just between 2 ridges, between 2 antennas, and when they come out off the top of this current ridge at high altitude, they're going to come into the zone where we've got an antenna directly up the valley, and we should get much better coverage once they've climbed up over the top of this ridge. As you can see, we're getting leaders now all the time as they're crossing, and it should be good going back to the north again.
Looks like Tilo's going to the east side of the valley now.
Oh, he's going straight south.
Yeah, running down the eastern side. 3 kilometers to run now, and just behind him is Mario Kissling, 3 kilometers back. And just behind him is Werner Arman with 10 kilometers to run, and then John Gatfield with 11 kilometers and Didier House with 11 kilometers. But the next view we're just going to bring you is that group. They look like they've stopped to climb, just trying to get a little bit more altitude before leaving and going into the turn point. We believe this is where Tilo and Mario stopped. In that group is Sebastian Carvar as well, being a bit more conservative. Lucas, nice to see Lucas up with the leaders today. He didn't have a very good day on the first day, couldn't get the altitude to make a decent start, and was always playing catch-up. Not quite sure what happened to him yesterday, but today he's right in the thick of it again. So's Bostian from Slovenia.
Well, you can see Roman's coming in. We haven't seen much of Roman's the last few days. He's been struggling.
No, he's been a bit quiet.
Yeah, and he's got just about the worst installation of Flam of anybody here. So we lose him, and for some reason we lose his tracker as well. But we've not been seeing much of Romans during this competition. But he's coming in with the main group now. He'll be happy to be there. He'll be happy to be on the tail. And he can now use the group in front of him to help him find the right route down to that turning point.
Yeah, just watching Sebastian Carver climb in a 4 to 5 meter thermal. Giorgio Galetto there as well. Lucas, John Gatfield's just left that group. Must have missed the bubble, and he's pushing on. Didier now and René Vidal in Alpha Tango in that group too, with Bostian. Sebastian sticking with that climb, 4 meters. Can you give us the altitudes, please, Benj? Just changing over. Sebastian now 4,485 meters and still climbing. I wonder if it's just dropping off a little. I wonder if he'll leave on the next turn. Meanwhile, out in the leads, looks like Tilo and Mario have just been round the turn. We're just getting another weather report from Alex. Can we hear you? No, signal's poor. Meanwhile, actually Tilo hasn't been round the turn. He did stop and take a climb. He's now a little bit higher than Mario. 3,900 meters, nearly 4,000 meters for Tilo, and 100 meters below is Mario. They're just climbing. Just get confirmation from Benji that he's been round the turn.
The valley
no,
of
we don't think he's been round the
Olivares,
turn.
east of the valley, the ridge east of the valley, is actually flyable, and the cloud base rises with the ridge of.
Yeah, it looks like we've lost Alex again. Yeah, confirming what we thought earlier, that both the east and west side of the valley are flyable, which is good news.
Well, I think that it's a good news because you get into that east side of the Olivares sometimes at 3,500, and at the same time you're going north. The mountains are going up, you're going up, and the cloud bases sometimes also going up to get to the end with the gate, and then you cross around the gate. We can see that Tilo is getting some height in that before going to the turn point. He should go and back.
Yeah, it's a great view we've got now as they're coming back down to this turn point at the bottom of the screen, and from there they'll make the choice to probably come back to where Tilo's been climbing, and from there they've got this choice of going up the left-hand side of the valley or the right-hand side of the valley.
Yeah, and what we know is the cloud base is low on the western side, but it sounds like it's much higher on the eastern side. So there's a good chance, if they feel confident, they can take that eastern side and get a much higher run.
Just looking at John Gatfield here coming into the climb where where Tilo and Mario are, but looks like John is quite a bit lower, 3,400 meters, whereas Tilo's 4,400. If John can get a good climb here, that will put him in good shape, as the rest of the group, who had got a much stronger climb behind him, John missed it. They were climbing up to, I think it was 4,500 meters. They're now setting off across the valley towards the turn point. They should be able to see Tilo and Mario climbing from there.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, and it's a good mark to all of them.
Tilo's played a really good game here because he left 4,000 meters the previous climb, and he didn't seem to be climbing very well to start with, but he's certainly improved, and we're going to see Sebastian and co coming in underneath him, and that's going to put him probably 500 meters above, which is 10 kilometers ahead.
Yep. John Gatfield didn't get a climb on the ridge there, so he's going straight in for the turn point. Will go back towards that rock face, which hopefully will be in the sun and be able to climb up. Meanwhile, Tilo's still climbing with Mario. Tilo now 4,700 meters. The group coming across the valley led by Sebastian, 4,100 meters. So
yeah,
600-700
they
meters
came straight to the point, to the turn point. Now, it's if the clouds are a bit tricky, it won't be a bad idea to keep on the west side of the ridge on the Olivares. You go back the same route to the copper mine all the way north. You pass the copper mine, you continue north to the turn point number 3 without losing time or having to struggle to go through the gate and with the clouds.
So through the turn is John Gatfield, and quite a bit higher is Sebastian Carver, leading Werner Arman and Giorgio Galetto around the turn point, followed by Lucas and Rene. And we don't think Tilo and Mario have been through the turn yet, but they're much, much higher, 4,800 meters. And it looks like they're leaving now, heading down to turn point 2.
Watch and learn. Will be interesting to see now whether Tilo, having takes the turn and comes back and has maintained a decent margin above Sebastian, because that was quite a different strategy, and it looks like I would think that Tilo will still have an advantage, but not as big an advantage as we first thought.
Just reading some of the comments, we don't think the competitors will have a problem in the next valley, but if they needed to land, they'd have to fly out of the valley and fly further south and west to get to a landing point.
More or less back to the airfield, actually.
Yeah, yeah. But from
and
the altitude they've got, yeah, but the altitude they've got, it'd be dead easy. But so no real problems there.
But these are wise guys, and they won't fly up that valley if they think there's a risk attached to it. They'll take the western route. They can see if it's clear, they can see the cumulus on the top, and I think we'll see them take the eastern side of the valley, which really should be quite spectacular.
Yeah, interesting to see what Thilo's doing here. He's through the turn point, but it looks like he might go to the east side, sorry, the west side rather than the east. The group on the right heading back to where Thilo was climbing originally. I'm surprised Thilo's not going back there. René Vidal obviously must have seen that. He's in that group, going back towards the climb that Thilo had.
And I think that Thilo already spent some times into the in the thermal, and he's going straight back to the way that they got some lift later on. So we can see Thomas Gosner and Andres that are turning.
Yeah, they're a little way back. Looks like Thilo's going to take the western route, while Mario has come back to the original climb he had with Thilo, just joining above the group with Werner Arman and Sebastian Cava and Lucas and Didier there.
We can be fairly sure, I think, Sean, that if Sebastian and the little group with him, Mario, take the same route Thilo's taken back, then they'll be worried about overconvection. They'll be worried about the spread out there and a little bit of a shower, and that will indicate to us that they probably won't be able to take that route coming south again either. They'll have to stick to the western route.
It's going to be quite an interesting battle.
Next 5 minutes should see a bit of a story unfold here.
So this group climbing reasonably well, 3-4 meters. Mario doesn't look like he's got that climb that the others have. John Gatfield's just managed to get enough altitude to come and join in the bottom of that group.
But we can see also that Thilo crossed to the north, and he's just keeping the same altitude. And he's going to get there to that area to get some height, and going to the west side of the Olivares.
So the story of the race so far, for those of you who just joined us, our race started at 3 o'clock, and the first leg of 25 kilometers or so was fairly straightforward, just 1 or 2 climbs on the way. The key point really was getting around turn point 1 and then heading east into the high mountains. And we had a couple who tried to take a different route, come back to the laboratory and climb there, and then across to the Españoles, and that didn't work. But those that were patient and were able to carry on and fly east, led by Thilo, came down the eastern side of the Orivalis Valley, round to 10.2 where they are now. Now the next decision really is whether they, as they head north to turn point 3, it's whether or not they go up the east side or the west side, and we're just watching that unfold now. Thilo, our leader, has taken the more westerly route, and we can see that Mario has decided to go to the eastern route.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which way Sebastian Carver goes. Whiskey Mike's coming in now, and Thomas is coming in there. It's a problem now for Krummel, because he's going to push, and pushing in this sort of flying is generally not a good idea, because you've got to keep the altitude, and you've got to take the altitude and not be too impatient. Arriving on the next mountain just a few hundred meters too low is an absolute disaster, because you just don't climb properly, and however much you want to catch up, you've just got to stop and get back up there.
Yeah, it looks like Sebastian's getting close to the top of that climb with his teammate Lucas. I wonder whether they'll push on from here now. Yeah, we'll just see them starting to leave, and will they go left or right? looks like right to me. They're chasing Mario.
Yeah, and Sean mentioned teammates there, fellow countrymen. All of these guys have to fly on the same frequency. There's no team flying involved, but of course Lucas and Sebastian know each other well and flown before, so they'll understand the style of flying, and they'll probably be able to intuitively help each other, even though they can't communicate on the radio.
So this group starting to break up now. Sebastian and Lucas leading Werner Arman, John Gatfield, René Vidal, Bostian and Didier off to the right. Golf Tango, Thomas Gosner there as well, just taking a little bit more altitude before he leaves. Top of the screen on the left hand side we can see 3 Victor, that's Thilo at 4,300 meters, just flying gently along the ridge, just gaining a little bit of altitude as he runs along there. And on the right hand side of the screen we can see Mario at just under 4,300 meters doing pretty similar on the other side.
Yeah, and actually Thilo's route is the most direct one. It's the one that requires the least deviation, and if it works for him and he gets good energy all along, he doesn't need to get quite so high as the other guys, and it may well be that that little bit less distance is going to be a big benefit to him when he's taking the next turn.
He's certainly doing well at the moment, as Mario was describing, running along these ridges. As the altitude increases of the mountain tops, the cloud base goes up, and actually they're able to just almost surf their way up along the ridge.
Yeah, that's right. But that gate up there is very tricky. If we're talking about northwesterly wind, it could be very tricky to get there. Sometimes it's very turbulent. What Thilo is doing is just flying all these ridges in the way back north. It's going to go at the base of the Plomo, and from there to the Andina copper mine, and just to go inside. When he gets to the mine, that's the same distance of at the end of the Olivares.
And if we compare the speeds, Thilo's flying at 200 kilometers an hour all the time, and Mario's flying at 160, 170. So Mario's going to try and pull that up to 5,000 feet. He needs to pull it up quite high to come out the end of the valley. And if he doesn't pull it up, he might run into trouble at the end. What height does he need, Mario, at the end of the valley?
4,500 meters, I believe, was what we were talking about before.
Sometimes more than that. You need close to 5,000.
Yeah, Mario doing a little bit better on the right hand side now. Mario now at 4,390 meters, whereas Thilo's lost a bit of altitude. He's down to 4,160 meters, and this group that are following Mario on the right hand side look like they might have bet on the right route.
Well, we can see that Mario is going up slowly. Well, now it's 4 meters per second, but he's moving, flying. But on the other hand, Thilo is going faster, and because this is a race, who gets first, it's not a bad idea.
Thilo looks confident. The route he's taking, the speed he's flying at, he looks like he's flying confidently. Mario certainly realizes he's got to get some altitude along there, and he's stopped to try and climb up a little bit. We can see he's getting 3 meters there, doing a few zigzags on that face to bring him back up, and that's where the others will catch him up but lower.
Yeah, just as he comes off the side of the hill there, the lift drops off, and nearly 4 meters down.
Is it really as beautiful as that, Mario?
Yeah, it is just like you can see it on the picture there.
It's spectacular.
Spectacular, yes.
Yeah, so all of those guys watching who fly around in the flatlands, you just got to get a view of this. Flying in Chile is just something really special. We are very lucky to be able to do this in our sport, to wander up into the highest mountains like this and make most wonderful flights in wonderful scenery. And there's nobody else there but us. It's just such a great thing to do.
This group coming back together now.
Yeah, you can see that this group will have to go up and fly, and it has to get high enough to get that gate. That area is a bit tricky.
So they'll follow this easterly ridge, trying to gain height as they go.
Yeah.
All the way along to the right hand side, and then have to come back left to the turn point.
And then just go north to the turn point.
Average speed now starting to increase, so just over 100 kilometers an hour. Yesterday I think we had 146 kilometers an hour average speed by the end. Looks like Sebastian stopped to climb. Lucas with him, Werner Arman there, René Vidal joining in, and in Yankee is Giorgio Galetto, Didier House not too far away, and John Gatfield just on a little bit lower on the back of that group.
The other thing that's really different about these two strategies is that Thilo doesn't have to get high at the end. He can just keep running. He can run right round the end into the turn and back onto the same ridge. And that will give him some benefit, but whether it's enough to compensate for the energy that the eastern route's taking will be interesting to see.
Quite a big split now, and Thilo's had to come quite a long way west.
What about the others?
Looks like Krimmel is now starting to come on the right-hand route to the east. That's Sebastian Nagel.
Well, we should see what Andres is going to do.
Andres in Golf November, bottom left of our screen. It looks like he's climbing at the moment, just a couple of meters. He's at 4,500 meters. And it will be, you say it'll be interesting whether he takes the easterly route or the westerly route.
Yeah.
Thilo looks like he's slowed right down there. Whether he's stopping to climb, I'm not really sure. But the last ridge he runs is northwesterly facing. That should give him a good run, shouldn't it, Mario?
That's right, yeah. This is what we're seeing him now. That's an excellent ridge, and you get a very good lift.
Yeah, just slowing down, pulling up in the lift, running along the spine of the mountain here. We'll cut back right. A much shorter distance to the turn point 3 at the top of the screen on the right hand side.
Of course, the Vario doesn't indicate the lift. The Vario indicates him pulling up. It's interesting, more interesting in this situation to monitor the altitude. We can see on the panel that he's gained 100 meters in the last 10 seconds or 20 seconds or so. So he's flying through really good energy. He's not flying very quick. 170 kilometers an hour isn't so fast. And that means that he's flying in what really is a nice energy situation. If he can gain 200 or 300 meters along this run, then he's really going to be able to run straight in and out of the turn and back to the same place.
Yeah, to give you a bit more orientation, we've got a compass at the top of the screen. So we're looking almost north, and the wind is coming left to right. So it'll be running up these spines, and we expect Thilo to pull up as he gets over each of these little ridges.
He's got to come around the corner there.
We're just got a few technical problems. We keep losing the stream, so we'll try and do what we can to improve the internet here. We think it's trying to get the live stream from here out to you. Meanwhile, we'll keep talking. We've got this group on the easterly side, just gaining a little bit more altitude, slowing down. They've got a much higher gate to get across, whereas Thilo is going round the gate at around the 4,000 meter mark. We're just changing the view so we can see the relative position. Thilo on the left-hand side, middle top of the screen, and a group on the right-hand side, which was Mario Kissling and Sebastian Carver. And we have another group going left, following Thilo's route, with Quebec X-Ray.
That's right, yes,
Roman
they're
Merchek.
following the other one. Here we can see that one of the copper mines are in the valley where Thilo is now, and from there where Thilo is, we have the other valley of the copper mine.
I'll just give you a drawing of that, and we're expecting Thilo to go along this route.
He should go around that route, go to a bit to the right side of the screen, get to the point, and come back the same idea, go straight to the next point.
Okay, we understand the technical problem we had is actually not local. It's outside of here and beyond our control, but we'll keep going and hopefully it'll improve. So just to recap, task today, 340 kilometers. The competitors now just coming up to the halfway mark, and there's been a big split in the fleet. One group going to the right hand side of the screen to the east, and another group going to the left, led by Thilo to the left. And the difference between the two groups is the group on the right hand side have to climb 4,500 meters plus to get over a mountain ridge to get to the turn point, whereas Thilo needs 3,800-ish to come round the left-hand side, or to the west of the screen as you're looking at it. Mario giving me a kick and saying, actually, you need 5,000 meters, but these guys like to leave a piece of paint on the mountains on the way through. So we'll see what height they get to.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Mario now at 5,100 meters. Flying that a little bit slower. Thilo down in the mine, flying at 3,800 meters. Good energy where he is right now.
Yeah,
average speed 116.
That's really is what is the gate of the mine. You just have to continue there.
We can see off in the distance there's 3 ridges in front. Looks like it's quite high just before the turn point. What altitude will you need there?
You can continue flying at the same altitude. Just continue flying the ridges.
Well, if Katya's watching this back in Germany, you can be sure Thilo will take care. It looks really scary stuff, but he'll have a very big smile on his face tonight having done this.
We've got one of our viewers has been doing a bit of map reading, and it looks like the lowest point that you can see is 4,660 meters on the right hand side. So Mario up now at 5,100 meters. In fact, Didier is even higher at 5,300. They'll have a spectacular view as they go over the top of the pass. The group on the left-hand side with Giorgio Coletto and Roman Merchek and Werner Arman stopping to climb. They're 3,900 meters. Well, certainly Roman's put one turn in. And they're following the similar route that Thilo ran earlier, but they're quite some distance behind now. We'll see if we can give you a distance to run. Yeah, Thilo now with 26 kilometers to run, and the group on the right hand side, the leader there at the moment is Lucas with 36 kilometers to run. So Thilo's 10 kilometers out in front, but 1,000 meters lower.
And we're losing quite a lot of data up on that, the Oliano? Olivares Valley. And when it goes grey like that, we're still getting some data, but not enough to give you a full show. But it's just enough to keep the altitude, and it's just enough to indicate where they are. But as they come over the gate, as they come to the end, we'll pick them all back up again. We at least can tell pretty much where they are.
One question about the gliders that they're flying. Thilo's flying a new Ventus 3, and Sebastian Carver's flying a JS1. Just Werner Armand's flying an ASG 29. Just trying to think what Lucas is flying. I've got it on my list somewhere. He's flying a 29. And who else we got in there? Quebec X-Ray, that's Roman Merchek. He's flying a 29 as well. All the gliders are 18 meters. All look pretty similar. They're equalized as best we can using wing loading. I just explained a little bit about that. Brian, tell us what wing loading is all about.
Yeah, we did that yesterday, but the gliders can fly heavier, and we choose a weight that we think will give them a combination of the best handling to fly in a mountainous region like this and a good performance. And for this contest, we chose 52 kilograms a square meter. So everybody has to fly not exceeding that weight. They can go quite a lot higher. This means that we have a much, much better handling of the gliders in difficult situations or in turbulent thermals, and it's a safety issue really for the mountains. Flying in the flatland, they might fly at 55 or 56 kilograms a square meter. Coming back with the data now, we can see that Papa Lima has come up to 5,200 there, so we should pick them up as they come back through the pass here.
And René's pulled up a little as well, one of the local pilots here, René Vidal. He's now running at 5,250 meters, just leading this group along now. They'll be happy, the visitors, to follow René.
Yeah, I think that Mario also catch up. We don't see Sebastian Cava in the group.
Yeah, Sebastian's a little bit behind, a couple of kilometers behind,
That's
with
right,
Golf
yeah,
Tango,
with
Thomas, and Didier House.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sebastian's only 5,100, and if there's no lift along the gate, that's not that high, is it? That's not a... Is it high enough to get over the gate, Mario, without any problem?
No, you can see that where the gate is, and the other guys which are close to the gate, they are flying almost 5,300 meters. And there they go.
I've got another question for you here, Brian. We're being asked, is there any problem with water ballast at this kind of altitude and temperature?
It's not that much of a problem, providing you don't try to dump it. There's more of a problem with the ballast in the tail, but most people put antifreeze in the tail ballast. They're not there long enough for the volume of water to freeze, and the important thing is not to dump it, otherwise you get a big lump of ice on the bottom of the wing. By the time they get back to finish the task, the glider will be really, really cold, and the water will be really, really cold, but there's not too much risk of it freezing.
Certainly by the time they get down here, it's pretty warm outside. 33 degrees this afternoon here in Santiago. As we watch René, Lucas and Mario flying towards turn point 3, 5,200 meters now. Spectacular view.
They have just gone through the gate, and you can see you need 5,200 meters at least to go through safely. Now I had to go through the north, and what we have in front of us is a Juncal, and that's just a ridge flying, a high speed.
We missed what happened there when we lost the data, but I suspect that René and Luca and Mario climbed stopped behind maybe just Sebastian, because the guys who were with them are 200 meters lower and they've dropped back 4 or 5 kilometers. So we saw there was a little bit of action there, and Sebastian's got to problem now to catch up with these guys, because he's still got, even if Kummel doesn't do that well today, Sebastian's still got to do well to maintain his lead.
Yeah, he's got to keep the average going.
Yeah, he needs to get in the top points in order to build a lead, and there's at least half a dozen guys here who are going to try and make it hard for him to do that. And I wouldn't write off, I think Thilo, I don't know where he is now, but I think Thilo's probably running into the turn somewhere. But I'm pretty sure we're now going to see these guys come up with Thilo fairly soon.
Yeah, Thilo's 4 kilometres in front, but further off to our left as we look at the screen, further west, running the western route up the Orioalis Valley. And these guys are higher, probably 1,000 metres higher than Thilo.
Well, for this group it could be very interesting if they keep that height, and then you go just under the ridge flying straight to the point and back at the same altitude. Thilo could do the same thing. Thilo could go through the same height, go to the point, and try to keep the same altitude, and probably come back in the same direction where he was flying.
But he's only 3,600 meters, Mario. What does that mean?
He will have to get some time. We have to spend some time to get some altitude in the way of going to the point.
Just looking from the view of Mario's tail, distance to run now for Mario was about 14 kilometers. We can see 3 Victor Thilo down to our left. 1,000 meters different. Just going to have a look and see if we can look out of from the tail of René's glider. Yeah, for René's glider we can see Thilo a little bit further down.
Thilo's turning.
Yeah, Thilo climbing now. We see the distance reducing as René now just catching up to the same distance from the turn point, 12 kilometers, but much, much higher. So the story really is about the left and right going up this valley, and right looks like the way to go. Being patient, climbing.
That's the story of the countries, left or right.
That's not a contrail from René, that's just his ribbon to show the Chile flag.
Yeah, that's right, yes. We can see these 3 guys are flying straight to the point, and that's an area which is really beautiful, and sometimes you get very strong turbulence. We can see sometimes they are going 6 to 7 sinking down, and some others are 8 up.
Just this is Mario's glider we're looking from at the moment, and off to our left, or his left, is Thilo climbing 3.5 meters, and that's the view that Thilo would have. He'll be able to see the other gliders 500-600 meters above him running along the ridge, and he'll be having a conversation with himself about whether he should have gone left or right.
Yeah, I don't think Thilo beats himself up too much. I think he knows that's what happens in this game sometimes. You just fall back a bit. He's got a long way to go yet. There's another 120 or so kilometers to go. So he's got 180 kilometers to go. So there's plenty of time for it to go wrong for people yet, and there's plenty of time to catch up.
So the leading group that have broken away is René Vidal, Lucas from Poland, and Mario Kissling from Germany. Mario not been doing too badly in the points. He was 4th overall, which I think with 14 points, just 1 behind Werner Armann. Didn't score any points yesterday, very disappointed, but he seems to be making up for it today. René, I think, just scored a couple of points yesterday, just managed to get on the leaderboard and out of the 0 points club, but wanting to
get away from it.
wanted to get on the podium for sure.
Yeah.
Currently in 2nd position as he chases Mario into the turn point. Lucas not too far behind. So they'll go straight in and back down the route that they came.
They will do the same route back, and probably in stop in the area of Juncal, before going into the gate. Now they have a good view already of the clouds, and probably they are making up the decision either to go outside, because the other turn point is way out to the west, instead of going to the inside of the Olivares.
So as they come into the turn point, first to reach TP3 is Mario Kisling, second is Rene Vidal, and third will be Lucas from Poland.
Lucas is going to be a happy boy. He's had miserable flying till now. He's had lots of bad luck. He's made a couple of bad decisions. He was saying to me last night that he feels he can do much better. We know he can do much better. We know he's a really good pilot. And he'll be very happy now to be flying with Mario and Rene. And these guys are going to have a ball going back towards that high mountain and watch the other coming in 5 or 6 kilometers behind them.
Yeah. What's interesting is one of the groups that stayed behind have stopped to climb really, really high. John Gatfield up to nearly 6,000 metres, Didier House 5,500 metres.
John was complaining about his headache last night, and he wondered if his oxygen was working. I hope he's filled his bottle, because he's certainly going to need his oxygen at that altitude.
Great competitor, John. Really enjoying his flying. He said he felt like a beginner with the first day he came here to Chile, flying in the mountains. As we watch Rene and Mario working the spine of this ridge.
So you can tell, you can't ever get anybody to understand this. If you've never done it, and you've not been there, and you've not been in a plastic tube with no engine, whizzing along at 15,000 feet, just the energy, then poof, we'll see if Alex is there.
Yeah. The
Yeah. Well, we are just at the top of the Alto Los Leones, that is entrance into the Valley Olivares. If we would there are a few gliders that made it through this valley. It was quite interesting to fly to
just sounds like cloud base is high, the route is clear, so no major problems. We'll see if we can't get Alex back a little later. Meanwhile, coming around the turn point, we've got Sebastian Carva and Thomas Gosner. Thilo still hasn't made it round, so that route going west or left up the first track has not proved to be be the best.
Thomas thinks he's in his Ferrari, look. He's going so fast.
Yeah.
Turn, Thomas, turn, you'll go too far. It's the Thilo did a good job to climb up, because if you notice, the sink coming into that turning point from the mountain was pretty severe, and if you were coming in there at 3,500 meters, that would have been a real issue, because you'd have been down, right down amongst the low levels there. Let's try Alex again.
Hi, I just flew back into a spot with good signal. As I was saying, it was interesting to fly the Valley of Olivares northwards on his easternly ridge, as the clouds there were at 4,500 at the beginning of the valley on the east side, and they were climbing little by little to 4,008, 4,009, and it was very good climb underneath the clouds, as long as you could stay connected on top of the ridge. So most of the pilots that were doing that route were staying on top of the ridge, going with the cloud base northwards and finding the sun. There were actually a few showers of rain and snow in there, but you could find
6,000.
Right, so conditions still good as we watch Didier go around the turn, and Thilo finally making it into the turn, followed by Bostian. Just looking at Thilo's height of 4,100 meters now, and Didier going down round at 4,800 meters. Quite a difference. So we'll just try and work out which route the guys are going to take on the way back. Just bringing you another view. Just looking for Rene to see which way he went. Alpha Tango, I can see him now, middle left of the screen, just underneath John Gatfield, still running with Lucas. Sebastian Nagel coming north still. And it looks like we've got Alex coming back again.
Okay, I'm at the north end of the valley of Olivares at 5,500 meters, and the valley looks clear. The clouds press down from the 5,200 layer down to rain, but we see the southerly exit of the valley Olivares, and we see some gliders flying back from the turn point of.
Okay, thanks, Alex. That's great.
Yeah, live. Alex flying his Nimbus 4DM at 5,500 meters, watching the competitors fly south as we do live here, with Rene Vidal leading now, closely followed by Mario Kisling and Lucas from Poland. And they're now coming back along the western side, but high.
Well, that should be the route. Even more, it should be going in the western side of the Olivares and over the ski resorts.
Okay, I will race down the valley of Olivares now towards the Rio Colorado and Embalse La Gloria to give you a call there and let you know how the cloud looks down there. I guess that the clouds are a little bit lower at that area of Rio Colorado, I guess 1,005. But the valley of Rio Olivares looks clear for them that make the altitude back here into the entrance of Olivares. They will do.
Okay, thanks very much, Alex.
Yeah, so just confirming what we'd suspected, it's clear down the valley. We've got a couple of questions here, Mario. Do you think Rene and this group here with Lucas and Mario will need to stop and climb again before they get to the next turn point?
I don't think so. They have enough height. They have a very good tailwind, and they should just continue going straight to the next turn point, get the 4th, the 5th, and back home.
Okay, so no more turning from here.
Well, that route that was marked there could be one possibility, and we're going to see what they're going to do here.
With the altitude that they have now, there's nothing higher on the way.
No, nothing higher on the way. That's just a straight flight.
So why do you think they haven't gone back down the eastern side of the Olivari Valley?
I think that they got away from the point, from the turn point. They should get close to the west side.
So this will be interesting. 150 kilometers to run, and
Mario,
we don't think they're going to turn
Mario
again.
Didn't have enough height to go through that gate there.
So the issue is that once they make the turn, they can't retrace the steps onto the Olivari Valley because they just can't get back over the gate. And it's interesting now that we can see Thilo and Sebastian at a similar sort of height coming back out of the turn. So whilst Thilo's route wasn't great, the first three guys obviously ran the Olivari really, really well, and the other guys haven't run it quite so well.
Mario was one of the competitors we actually saw stop and actually turn back and do a figure of 8 to get that extra bit of altitude.
That's right, yes. Now behind that group we have Gosner and Didier House, which are climbing to go south to make the decision if they go again into the Olivares or go to the outside. We can see that Mario Kisling probably didn't have enough height to go through that small gate following Vidal, and probably that's going to push him to go to the west side. I think that that's the best route.
So yet another split here, caused by just a fraction less altitude. Choices are limited then, you're having to go right. Thomas Gostner now appearing in the bottom of our picture, being chased by Didier. Mark Tingey, who made some of the early lead, unfortunately didn't get high enough down the second leg, and actually has only just got to the bottom turn, so that was a big mistake.
No, that's right, yes.
It's like Giorgio Galetto has chosen a more westerly route. He's got the altitude. He's not got quite the same altitude as Mario and Rene, so he's been pushed out more to the west, so down the lower slopes.
I don't know if Giorgio that make the turn. I think that he's just going to the north.
So Giorgio not having such a good day. Meanwhile, in Alpha Tango, we have Rene. Yeah, he's losing a lot of altitude, flying down the middle of the valley, working his way to the western side, sorry, the eastern side, the left-hand side of the picture as we see it now.
For those of you back home, folks, Mario just made a long sucking noise when he saw the height that they were going into this valley. That's not a big altitude. It's a long way to the end, and they really need to get back into some energy on the. And the lower you get in the valley, the less chance of energy, because there won't be any updraft on the mountainside once you drop down a couple of thousand feet off the tops of the hills. But I think we can be fairly confident that he knows what he's doing. He's got a plan. He's a local guy, and he'll know how to deal with this. And I'm sure that Lucas is in for an exciting time following him down this valley.
As long as they can maintain this, we're fairly sure that Rene knows his way, and he's going to be able to maintain this lead. There's nobody doing anything different that we feel can challenge that, other than Mario, who went right, losing a little bit of the data, but that'll come back. See, Mario now has just popped up on the right hand side, 4,400 meters, and Rene Vidal at 4,200 meters on the more easterly route on the left hand side of the screen. Just working out what Mario might be doing now. He's a little higher and still running south.
And it's running south. It's going to pass over that gate over the Andina copper mine and continue just close to the ski resorts. The copper mine is just where he is now. And Sebastian Cava apparently is following him.
Yeah, Mario and Sebastian have flown together quite a bit. They were both here for the last Sailplane Grand Prix final here in Chile 8 years ago. Just watching the route that Mario's taking. Sebastian keeping an eye on him. The group on the left-hand side, we're just losing a bit of data from them, so we're not quite sure exactly where they are. But as they come back into view, we'll bring them to you. The group behind, Sebastian Nagel in Whiskey Mike, 4,600 metres, with John Gatfield there. Just trying to work out whether they've been around the turn or not. We got the distance to the turn point. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is that Thomas Gosner and Sebastian Cava were flying together, and Thomas Gosner just got into the Olivares Valley, and Sebastian Cava went outside to the west side of the valley. They split. Didier is still getting some height.
So according to the tracking, Mario is out in the lead with 37 kilometres to run to the turn point. Rene Vidal in Alpha Tango, 38 kilometres to run. Lucas is right with him. Sebastian Cava, 48 kilometres to run. We'll get those updated as the signal comes back. And we've got a little bit further back, Didier in 7th and Sebastian Nagel in 8th. And John Gatfield with 66 kilometres to run. Thilo, who was our early leader going north, took a westerly route, which looked pretty good for a while. He was 10 kilometres ahead, but was much lower. And the group climbing to the east, slower, but much higher, were able to get round the turn point in better shape. And the difference is now 40 kilometres that Mario has managed to pull out on Thilo.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, if you go south on the west side, you go more straight to the turn point. Rene and Lucas, they moved to the east side, and you can see where the turn point 4 is. That will take them a lot of distance.
Yes, and Rene and Lucas have got a long way to come around from the left-hand side of your screen to the turn point, whereas Mario can go pretty much straight there.
That's right, yes. That was interesting because when they were flying close to the gate, there was a 200 meters of difference. So Rene and Lucas did cross to the south, and Mario couldn't do it. So then he continued. In a way, he was forced to go to the west side, which apparently is much better for him.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see how it works out. 400 meters difference in altitude, though. So while they've got a little bit further to go, they can run a bit quicker and use that altitude.
That's right, yes.
From here at turn point 4, which is another 27 kilometers for Mario to run, we're expecting, if they get there at 2,500 meters, they should be able to run all the way home. No problems at all. We're not expecting them stopping to climb at all. So Mario now 3,700 meters with 26 kilometers to run. He should be in good shape at turn point 4.
Yes, I think that he has a very good chance to get it.
Yeah, so we're hoping that Rene, with that little bit of extra height, he should have worked out by now that actually he's got to get on with it.
They should push. I don't know what the speed that they're making now, but Rene, they should push very hard.
We'll see if we can get a comparison between Mario and Rene. So Rene on the left-hand side, running at 225 kilometers an hour, the ground speed, and Mario Kissling on the right, 246. So Mario's decided that he can get to the turn point. He's got plenty of altitude, shorter distance to run. If I were a betting man, I think I'd put my money on Mario at the moment.
Yes, I'll do.
Not too far behind. About 15 kilometers, 14 kilometers back is Sebastian Cava, keeping his consistency going. It's just whether or not these two on the left-hand side of our screen, Lucas and René Vidal, can actually close the gap to Mario. Mario still at 4,150 meters. Lucas a little bit below that. Mario 3,500 meters. So 600 meters in it. In terms of distance, René's 4 kilometers behind Mario, but got that extra altitude.
Yes. They should go faster.
Mario's starting to pick up the René's starting to pick up the pace now, flying at 240 kilometers an hour.
But he's going to be happy to be higher. When they come into the next turn, I think René's going to have a couple of hundred meters more, and it's more or less a final glide from this turn, isn't it? They'll run along to they'll run along to turn point 5, and then they'll come racing back. So they're coming down here now, so on the just north of that turning point. So if they can turn at 3,000 meters, 1,500 meters, they can make turning point 5 without too much trouble. Do you think, Mario?
Yes, for sure.
The stream seems to have settled down a bit now. We've got good visuals here on the silent wings. So no need to look at the 2D tracking. The 3D is working well. Mario not far to go now. 106 kilometers distance left to run. Average speed climbing now, 134 kilometers an hour. Didier pushing hard now, 240 kph then with Bostian. Just looking at their heights, Didier 4,100 meters. So all of them now realizing that they're on final glide to the finish. Just got 3 more turn points to run. Total distance they've got to go is for Mario 104 kilometers. Mario not far now for the turn point. René and Lucas coming back from the east, heading towards the turn point. Looks like they'll join roughly at the same time as Sebastian Carver. And hot on their heels will be Bostian and Didier. Mario pushing pretty fast now, 247 kilometers an hour.
Looks like Mario's trying to make up for yesterday. Mario had a pretty miserable day yesterday. He got low at the northern turn, and he had to come way out of the mountains and right round back past the airfield. Put him a long way back, and I think he felt pretty miserable about that, and he's probably decided that he's going to make up for that. He certainly seems to have got the bit between his teeth. The speed is flying. He seems to be very happy at the moment.
Yeah, that's the view of somebody who's confident of getting to the finish from where he is right now.
3,000 meters is enough to take him into that turn, over the next hills and down to the south turn. And we know that from that point it's a ridge run. He doesn't even need to have final glide height. He can be quite a bit below final glide height, probably 300 meters or something, and still just run the ridges home and make it up on the way back. He'll have done his calculations, he'll have done his preparation, he'll have a plan, he'll know roughly what he needs to do. But the remarkable thing is how much faster he's done on that run than René and Luca did going down the Oliveira Valley.
Yeah, that decision he was forced to make to go right and south, whereas the others wanted to take the higher route further to the east, a little bit further to get to the turn point. It's made the difference, and Mario is now 5 kilometers in front. Actually, a bit more than that, 10 kilometers in front.
Yeah, he's scorching. He's absolutely scorching along at the moment. But René's put his foot down as well, and Papalima, they're making the wings flap at the moment, trying to get the extra little bit of energy out of the glider to catch him up. They probably can't see him, but they'll see him on the FLARM. They'll see him on their FLARM radar, and they'll see that he's about to go into the turning point.
So as Mario comes into the turn point, just a short leg from turn point 4 to 5, 36 kilometers. Again, we don't think they're going to climb. He's got enough altitude now to run all the way to the finish. Just having a look to see which glider Mario's flying. He's flying a Ventus 3. So we've got two Ventus 3s and 29 here, and on the right hand side of our screen we should see Sebastian Cava in a JS1 just popping into view.
So it's going to be quite close between René and Sebastian after this turn. I don't think there's much difference in their altitude. René's 3.1, that's a good altitude. Sebastian's 3.3, so that little bit of distance difference might well be taken up with Sebastian's altitude advantage as they take the turn.
And all three of them are just that fraction higher than Mario out in the lead.
I think that the height starts to matter less and less now. What matters is the speed. What matters is to get round the turn and back on the ridge as quickly as you can. And do you think? I think they look good for height, Mario.
Yes. Even if you get to the turn point number 5 lower, as we saw yesterday, from that area you just came back flying the ridges from and using the southwester wind.
Mario pushing on, but being reasonably sensible about it. He's not pushing overly hard, just making sure he's going to have a safe altitude to get around this turn point. This leg from turn point 5 to 6 is 36 kilometers, and then they'll turn north and run along the ridge into the finish. Distance of 53 kilometers with just a final leg of 3 kilometers for a checkpoint, just to straighten them up and bring them over the airfield in a straight line. So there's a great view you can see that Benji's given us with the city of Santiago spread out in the middle of the picture. We've got a bit of an update from Alex
Brian.
coming in.
Hi. Just to let you know that the run from the Olivares Valley south was perfect. It was soft. The entrance was clear, and we saw a few gliders pressing down there pretty fast to the Rio Colorado turn point and continuing their flight further south to Embalse La Gloria. There are no clouds here at this point. From Rio Olivares outwards, the clouds have almost disappeared. There are a few cumulus here and there, but not on the route they have to fly. So from the last point, southern point of Rio Olivares towards Rio Colorado, there are no indicators, no clouds, and there is no clouds further south to Embalse La Gloria and the rest of the track. The wind here at 3,500 is 25 kilometers from the west-northwest, 20 kilometers, so it's not really strong, and so it should not affect these guys. So it should be a very fast run for them now for the last waypoints now. It's good visibility, so we'll see you in a while. Okay, bye-bye. Talk to you later.
That was Alex, eye in the sky, flying his Nimbus 4 DM. While we watch Mario now flying 240 kilometers an hour towards 10.5. He's got a total distance of 76.9 kilometers to run.
Probably what we will have to go from here is to go straight to the point and come back flying the ridges in that area where the Cerro Blanco is.
Now we've got the goal arrival height indicator. This is sort of a measure of the amount of energy that they have, and we see, just looking down the list, that Mario is 800 meters or so under final glide. But we saw them yesterday make up nearly 1,500 meters from a similar location to get back. So we're not expecting them to climb again.
No, it's this sort of flying, to take the turning point like this, is something you need to practice. You actually need to be very confident that when you're flying at that altitude, you can just keep going and keep going. You can't do this if you've never done it before. It's one of those things where you need to fly with people who know the route, who know what happens, to know that you can just keep going and going and going and pushing on, and knowing that you need to be down near the top of the mountain. It's no good being 800, 900 meters above it. And the other thing we have to remember is that they need to be at 850 meters when they get back.
Yeah, so our goal arrival height calculator is taking that into account. Worked pretty well yesterday, and we saw these negative numbers slowly turn positive as they ran towards the finish. As we watch Mario now just running along the top of these ridges.
I thought that he was going to go straight and then come back through these mountains. He's going to use the lift and speed it up.
Maybe he talked to Tilo about yesterday, and maybe he's decided that he can be fairly sure he's got a few kilometers lead, and to push too hard now might be a mistake. If he can maintain 2 or 3 kilometers lead and the altitude, he's going to make sure of it. If he pushes too hard and then he has to slow right down, he can lose that 2 or 3 kilometers.
And this is going to turn into an interesting finish. We've got very close René Vidal and Lucas here in Papa Lima, and not far behind is Sebastian Carver with just a fraction more altitude than the guys in front. And Sebastian will be using that extra altitude to his advantage, just slowly closing the gap. We've got a new feature on Silent Wings which will give us the distance. There we go, great. 2.2 kilometers between Sebastian and Lucas there. And the distance between Lucas and René, just 1.2 kilometers. Difference in altitude between them. Well, not much at all, actually. Nothing between to choose. And it would be interesting just to see the distance between Mario and... it's too far, so we can't actually give you that. We'll give you our best guess based on distance to the turn point. So Mario now with just 8.3 kilometers to run, and René just 9 kilometers behind.
And we know that René's pretty good at this ridge running game, but he's of a conservative nature. René, he's not a very aggressive person, but actually we also know that Sebastian's really good at this. Sebastian's really good at this aspect of the flying, of eking out every little bit of energy low down and going very fast. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Sebastian closing that gap during the next few kilometers. Certainly when they come back out of the turn, I think we'll see him pretty close to Papa Lima.
Yeah, I think that in the way back we might get an arrival very similar to what we had yesterday. We had about 7 gliders coming into.
Mario just working the ridges as he comes into the penultimate turn. Roughly 9 kilometers in front of René Vidal. And we've got 2 of the Polish pilots, Sebastian Carver and Lucas, hot on his heels. As we watch Mario here at 2,000 meters, just coming into turn point 5. Coming off the hill, he'll just slow down a little, maintain the energy that he's got, and it'll be interesting to see where he actually goes after he hits the turn point, whether he'll come back in the direction he's just flown from, or whether he'll carry on more along the task line.
Well, once you go to the valley to hit the turn point, then you cannot come back on the same route. But he will have to go against the Cerro Blanco.
Okay, so we think
no,
just
and this route, not the other one. That's one.
we think he'll come around.
That's the route that they have done it, and then he will have to come back around there.
So the route that we've drawn is the route that they followed down, but you think they're going to actually go a little lower.
That's right.
And that way round.
Go straight to their side.
Yeah. So we'll just clear that off as we see Mario just take the turn. See the distance now back to René Vidal running at 200 kilometers an hour. Quite close now with Lucas and Sebastian. Sebastian slowly pulling him in. Distance to run now for Sebastian, 66.8 kilometers. René 64. The next group behind that looks like Bostian. Bostian had a great day yesterday. He really did ace the final glide, going from 6th to 3rd in the last 4 kilometers. He's with Didier. Bostian in a JS1, Didier in a Ventus 2. Mario coming straight back to the hills now. Yeah, just slowing right down. We've just got a view from his tail, and you can see him coming back. He'll be able to see the other competitors now, slightly above him and on the ridge. So he'll know he's got the lead. And he'll just turn away from the hill here, using the energy, just pulling up 1.5, 2 meters. And we see René up on the right hand side. Oh, did Sebastian stop then? No, they're just taking just moving around the edge. Mario now hugging the ridge. And this is where he'll make up the height that he needs to get home. Just flying along, pulling up when he gets a bit of energy coming off the ridge. And just switching to Lucas. This is the view Lucas has of René coming into the turn point. René just about to take the turn. And this is René's view as he's coming into the turn point. René not far to run now, 58 kilometers total distance to run. Average speed just coming up to 140 kilometers an hour. And there's the overhead shot of René just coming into the turn point, followed by Lucas. And the distance between Lucas and Sebastian now, under a kilometer. So Sebastian's slowly reeling him in. Distance between Lucas and René, 1.4 kilometers. So René's pulling out a 200 meters. And René's round the turn. Just getting another view for you.
This is the sort of situation where your technique starts to really matter. Not going too far into the turn, so that as you turn, you roll and pull the glider around just before you get there, and so just the very tip of the turn that you make goes into the sector, and then you're back again. Fly too far and you can do nearly 2 kilometers further than anybody else, and this makes a very big difference in this sort of speeds.
So it'll be interesting to see the distance that has been made up. Sebastian, a master at doing this. He flew in the World Air Games in Dubai, I think it was, where they ran effectively tobogganing races, and Sebastian was able to make the fastest time around the task just by flying as precisely as he possibly could. And he's using those skills now to catch up Lucas. Distance now 800 meters. Yeah, and Lucas has gained a little bit on René Vidal.
Yeah, Sebastian's reeling him in slowly, but they're flying pretty much the same speed, and I think they're pretty much the same height now. So it comes down to question of technique, because there's virtually no difference in these gliders' performance.
Mario 7 kilometers out in front. René Vidal in second place, Lucas from Poland in third, and hot on his heels is Sebastian Kawa. Just round the turn now is Echo Juliet, that's Bostian from Slovenia, and just going through the turn is Didier from France.
And it's all Mario's to lose now. He's got it in the bag, providing he doesn't push too hard. He's just got to run those ridges and maintain enough energy to be absolutely certain to finish above 850 meters. He's got a really good buffer in the distance. He doesn't need to worry too much about that. And I'm sure that he's got the information in his cockpit that he needs to do this. I'm sure he's got his instruments set well. He knows the height he needs, and he can see on his FLARM. Do you think you can see that, Sean, where the others are behind him?
We were just wondering actually how good his FLARM was. Early on in the week it was actually quite poor. So it's possible that, well, you certainly would have seen them as they were going around the turn point, as they crossed over. They'll have seen each other. So he'll know that they're there, and he'll know that he's got a bit of a buffer.
And for those of you who maybe not have been around gliding recently, a FLARM, it's a device, a proximity warning device, but the information can be displayed in the cockpit, so you can see other gliders around you which have also got equipped. And all these gliders, they have to be equipped with a FLARM so they can see each other clearly on the screens in their cockpits, up to maybe 5-6 kilometers with a decent installation.
Mary just noticed.
Yeah, the height that they have is very critical. They're flying in a 1500 meters height, and they will have to go slow down to be able to get back home. We can see that Mario has to slow down.
Yeah, Mario off in the distance. We think he was about 7 kilometers in front. René now pushing very hard in second place, trying to stay ahead of Lucas and Sebastian.
Yeah, Mario's just flying that little bit slower now. He's got 100 meters more. I think he's playing a really cool game here. I think he's really said, okay, you guys, it's you've got to catch me. You're going to take the chances. You've got to have a push. I'm comfortable now. I'll just do my own thing and cruise at my own speed.
I think that all of them, they're going to arrive to the same area, and that's what we call the apoyo to the Cerro Blanco, which is it's a very good stop with very good thermals, but they were just going to go through.
No, they're not going to stop now. They're just pull up, slow down, use the energy. Mario's gained 100 meters just by working the bowl.
Yeah, it's looking good. It looks like the energy is working well. And with that sort of energy, they shouldn't have any difficulty at all. They've got quite a long gap now over the river valley. They should arrive on the, what's the mountain called just before the airfield?
San Ramon.
Okay, they should arrive on Santa Ramon at what altitude will they need when they arrive on it, Mario?
Around 1300.
So that looks good. It looks good for Mario that he's going to arrive at 1300, and that should give him a really fast run.
Yeah, yes.
René's, well, we'll have to see. He'll need to top up a bit to cross the valley and arrive at that sort of height.
Andres ran straight from here yesterday, showed everybody else the way. So we think they're, and Mario will do the same now. Chase.
Now they're arriving to that area. They're going to slow down to get the possibility to get some a difference on meters.
Yeah, this is the top up. This is when you come back down from 220, 230 to 160, and just flying that little bit slower allows you to gain 100 meters or so, and that's what they need to get across the valley to arrive at 1300 on San Ramon.
Sebastian's technique just working a little bit better than Lucas here. Lucas a little lower down, and maybe not as much experience as Sebastian in the mountains. Just starting to show. Sebastian higher now. He's caught up with Lucas. Just literally in the last sort of 4 or 5 kilometers, just use that extra bit of knowledge, working the energy. Now, can Sebastian catch Rene?
Well, I wouldn't count it out. I think there's a reasonable chance. We know how well he flies in this sort of situation, but also Rene's got quite a lot of local knowledge. He's certainly not going to make it easy for Sebastian. He's not going to slow down, and he's not going to give any ground. So if Sebastian wants to catch him, he's going to have to push for it.
Mario now nearly having completed the crossing of the valley, and he'll use the energy he can get on the next ridge. Rene now going straight. Just looking a little further back. Bostian flying at 200 kilometers an hour. Big ask for him to catch the group in front. He's a fraction higher, but not like yesterday. He hasn't got that extra 200-300 meters that he used to such a way to go from 6th to 3rd.
And the Whiskey Mike is now tucked back with all the others, long way back. He's going to be really struggling to get any points at all today. And the rate we're going to see Sebastian in probably 3rd place, but maybe 2nd. And it's all a question of whether Rene can hold him off. I'm sure that Crumble is hoping that Rene holds him off to keep the gap between the top 2 places close.
That makes a big difference between 1st and 2nd, 10 points and 8 points. It could be the thing that makes the difference at the end of the week. So we're just watching Rene and Sebastian. The distance now more than halved. Sebastian now just 600 meters behind Rene, and just a fraction higher, yeah. So Rene now at 1270 meters and Sebastian at 1300 meters, so 30 meters in it. Lucas now dropping back. There's still a bit more of ridge running to go. Rene knows this area really well, but Sebastian's done this a lot as well.
Yeah, and he has Rene is marking him where to slow down or where to accelerate.
Pretty much the same height. The distance between them narrowing. Let's see if we can give you
down to who takes this corner the best, because the corner here, they've got to go around the power wires, they've got to come onto the next slope, and the guy who gets this absolutely right is probably going to get 2nd place. And it's just a test now of who can just get that little edge around this corner and onto the next slope. There's no doubt Sebastian's pulling closer and closer to Rene all the time.
We're setting it up for another exciting finish.
We put the distance on again, Benj, when they're running down this slope, and we'll just see if he's managed to reel Rene in a little bit more.
You have to go over the power lines and get close to the ridge, to the right side.
So just 170 meters in it now. Very similar heights. 10, 15 meters in it.
So Sebastian used that extra 80, 90 meters he had to close up 500 meters on Rene. But now it's more difficult. Now it comes down to glider performance because they're going to be flying in exactly the same air. And it's not really very easy for Sebastian to get a better position on the mountain now they're the same height. So it comes down to who can hold the stick still and have the minimum drag from everything.
Rene flying a Ventus 3 and Sebastian flying a JS1. And just behind them, Lucas in a 29.
Well, we've got all the guys from Chile standing out on the airfield here going, "Go Rene, go Rene." They would love to see Rene on the podium. I think he stands a good chance of getting there. The question is which step.
Yeah. And off in the distance we can see Mario coming off the hill now, heading towards the checkpoint. Looks like he's on our goal arrival height. He's got plenty in hand now. Just got a view of Mario. Just setting that up for you. Here's the view. Mario's got to go through the red turn point there and then across the finish line on the left hand side. You can see the road just outside the airfield here, marking the edge of Santiago.
Yeah, Mario will have it in the bag now. He'll be very happy because he sees nobody directly behind him. He can slow down a little bit if he wants to, although he doesn't seem to be doing. Your actual speed doesn't win you anything in this scoring system, where the only thing that matters is your place. So if you come first by a second or 20 minutes, makes no difference to the points. So slow down a bit, Mario, and make sure.
So with Mario looking like he'll take the win, it's all about second place, with Rene Vidal just holding off Sebastian Carvar at the moment, but it is desperately close. Just going to get the distance markers between these two gliders and then a sideways view, and it looks like 150 meters between them. Not a lot in it. In terms of altitude, it's literally 5 to 10 meters between the two of them. So it's all about technique now.
He hasn't closed up though. It's been 160, 170 meters now for quite a while. And if you want to see what the real performance difference is between these gliders, this is a great test. And you can see the lack of experience with Luca in flying in this sort of situation has caused him just to fly a little bit more conservative, a little bit further out from the hill maybe, and he's lost a kilometre or so in that final glide.
As we see Mario's through the final checkpoint and heading towards the line, just making sure that he stays above the 850 metre finish height. Nice and conservative, having plenty in hand now, and through the line. Meanwhile, the race for second place, Rene Vidal just holding off Sebastian.
Watch this turn. We know that Sebastian is brilliant at the turn, and if Rene goes just 100 meters too far at this turn, he's toast. He's got to make this turn really, really count, and he's got to make sure that he doesn't allow Sebastian to come round the inside of him. Rene will be sweating now. He'll be concentrating now on getting the point just right as he goes into the turn.
Although their speed, Rene's actually pulling out a few meters.
Yeah, although the indicator speed shows Sebastian's flying faster, but interesting. Maybe that extra little bit of height Rene had has allowed him to push ahead.
So not far to go now. 6.3 kilometers to run. They've just got to go into this turn point. So this turn will be critical for Rene. He's got to get this absolutely right. It's just under 90 degrees, the turning. We're just going to try and arrange a view over the top. It's just coming to you now, so we'll be able to see how they take the turn. 260 metres in it now. Sebastian setting himself up so he can cut the corner the closest. $250 metres between them. This is going to be really close. So Roland, referee, you better roll your sleeves up. You'll be having some work to do to see these two go through the turn point. Is Rene going to miss it, or is he going to clip it? Sebastian cutting right now, making sure he's in the turn point. We think Rene just clipped it. Sebastian went right so he could take a smoother turn and not so sharp, and you can see the difference that has made as he starts to slowly catch up with Rene. Only 100 metres in it now. I'm not quite sure how the scorer is going to split these guys. This kind of speed, that kind of distance, is less than a second. 80 metres in it now. All about technique as they went around the turn point. Will Sebastian be able to do it? 70 metres now. 65 metres. Not quite. Looks like Rene's just going to squeeze it. And the altitude's 860 metres. Maybe Sebastian was a fraction lower. We don't know. We'll have to check that. But a fantastic close finish. So in first place was Mario Kissling from Germany. In second place looked to be Rene Vidal from Chile. In third place was Sebastian Kawa from Poland. And in fourth place is Lucas from Poland. Yes, and leaving the 0 points club. He'll be very happy with that. Looking a bit further back down the field, Bostian from Slovenia coming in fifth place. Pressure's off Sebastian here. He's 970 metres. He won't need to push too hard. He'll realise that there's no way he can catch the guys in front, and he's got quite a buffer back to Didier behind. We'll keep running until we get down to 10th place. Looks like there's a race to be had here between Thomas Gosner and Didier. Distance between them, 700 metres. Didier in Aventus 2 and Thomas in Aventus 3.
And they have a bit of a difference on height. Thomas Gosner has, they're almost just about the same. I think that this was a race that finished really on the third turn point up in the mountains, and from there they just flew straight to the second one and to the fourth one and then to the fifth one.
Yeah, but the routing was it was all about the routing.
Yeah.
That mistake, or it looked like a mistake, where Mario wasn't able to get over the ridge.
Yeah,
and actually
it
that
really
forced him.
It really
south.
helped him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it looked like
three
Rene had
the
it?
three of them were flying together, and when Rene went into the Olivares, Mario couldn't do it. They had 200 meters of difference, and pushed him out to the west side, and that was a clear cut. From there, he just flew straight to the turn point.
As we watch Thomas Gosner taking the turn, just over a kilometre ahead of Didier. Didier a little bit higher, but probably not enough to close the gap. And now Didier goes around the turn. So Thomas will be coming in 6th place and Didier in 7th. And a little way back is Sebastian Nagel, who's neck and neck with Thilo for the final points for the day. We'll bring you that, just see Thomas and Didier go through the line, and then we'll bring you the race between Sebastian and Thilo. So Thomas through the line now. Didier just coming into it. So I just want to say thank you to Mario for his insights today. Thank you, Mario.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Same time, same place. That'd be great. And just want to say thanks to Benji for driving Silent Wings. As we now look back and see Sebastian Nagel and Thilo coming into the finish. Bit of selfie action going on here. Benji taking pictures. Well, we hope you've enjoyed the coverage. If you have, tell others, and if you think we could do things better, please tell us. The live chat is a great route to get to us. You'll see that we're reading the comments as we're watching the screen as well. Any technical questions will be answered by our team here, and any of the gliding questions we'll do our best to answer through the commentary. As we watch Sebastian Nagel now at 1,300 meters, not far to run. Thilo got 22 kilometers to run, and Sebastian just a little bit less than that. That's interesting. We've got John Gatfield has just appeared on the screen, a little bit higher, 150 meters above the other two. I wonder if that's going to be enough to catch them up. This could be very interesting. John scored points for the first time day before yesterday. Didn't have such a good day yesterday, but there's a point on offer here if he can catch up with Thilo. A little further back and out of the points is Werner Arman and Roman Mercek, and in Yankee is Giorgio Galetto, and for Sierra is Fridolin from Switzerland. And joining me here, Alex, how was your flight?
Hey, hi, doing great. It was fantastic. It was a beautiful day up there. A little bit more humidity in the air than the other days before, but the visibility was just fantastic. It was just fine. The markers at the beginning of the race were incredible. They were just set where the thermal had to be, and you flew underneath them, and you really could connect fast. Even though we saw a few guys that just reached these markers and were not really patient in waiting for the thermal getting organized when it leaves the ground. Some of these markers were above flatland, and they just were not feeling comfortable turning in that areas, and they just flew past them. The ones that actually got in there with a little bit more altitude could take these markers after just turn point 1 when they flew northeast. There was this beautiful cloud, and that took you all the way up to 3,400 meters, and you were just cruising south for the next turn point. The interesting thing, though, was that the clouds at the ski areas just east of Santiago, they were actually precipitating. There was snow, rain,
yep,
and some hail, and but it was just on that area, and it was just, I thought that it's going to overdevelop during the afternoon, and it's going to create some of a problem flying back for the ones that were actually deciding to fly through the Valley of Olivares back south again. But actually it cleared up, and it was much better right now in the afternoon when they were cruising back. So it was interesting. It was fun, it was fast, and it looks like, you have to tell me, that a lot of pilots took different routes and different alternatives. We saw planes flying all over the place, and it was hard for us to understand what was going on with them. So, but it was interesting.
Yep. Well, we had a grandstand view, actually, being able to watch which way they went. The Orivares Valley was absolutely critical with the route north, a group going left and another group going right, and right paid, staying high, flying a bit slower, made 1,000 meters difference, and the group that went right or further east actually got round the turn point first, beating Thilo, who made the early running. Actually, Thilo was 10 kilometers out in front, flying up the western side, but couldn't maintain the altitude and had to stop and climb, and the others just overtook him.
Yeah, well, we heard some, it was not really conversation, but they were concerned after turn point 2 in the south, what to do if flying back to the north through the Olivares Valley or not. And you could hear them, Thilo, are you actually flying north through the Olivares? And they were asking René, the local one. The local one said, I still don't know, I can't see from here. And so it was interesting. There were some doubts in there, but the ones that actually did it did well. Myself, I flew back north through the Olivares. I cheated, obviously. I didn't have to go all the way down to the altitude the other ones were flying. So, but it was flyable. It was. It's a strange feeling because it's a long valley. The valley is about 40, 50 kilometers long. And you start in the valley with 4,000, yeah, a little bit less, 3,500 meters, 3,004, and you have to go all the way up to 5,002, and you have clouds blocking your view. And so you have to a little bit understand what's going on in there, and if you can see sunspots on the ground further inside of the valley, you know that the sun is actually coming through, and that was the case of today. So the ones that actually with less knowledge than us did the job flying up there north, did a good job. It was fantastic.
And we've just been watching the 8th, 9th and 10th place. Just coming through the final turn is Sebastian Nagel, who will finish in 8th place, picking up 2 points. And just behind there was a bit of a race going on between John Gatfield, who had a little bit more height than Thilo, but Thilo was able to maintain the distance between them, and Thilo's going to steal the last point, and poor old John's going to end up with 0. But he'll have had a good time.
Oh, definitely. The area north of Olivares, of the northern exit of Olivares, all the way up to Inca Lake was beautiful. The clouds were high. We were at 5,600 meters, and clouds were even higher than us. You could see actually the gliders not taking all that altitude. They just were taking the altitude enough to cross the pass of northern Olivares Valley and then continue to Inca Lake. But they connected perfectly with the turn point at Inca Lake. Some of them came back the same route and tried to climb, and actually did. Some others, I saw them to spread out to the west and turn around Las Lagunas, I think.
Yeah, as we watch John Gatfield just take the final turn, and Thilo coming into the finish to steal the last point for today's race. He'll have had a good time, but will be kicking himself about going left up the Olivares Valley rather than right. So that's it from us in Santiago today. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. If you like what we've done, tell others. If you think we can do it better, please drop us a note on the live chat, and if it's within our gift, we'll give it a go. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.